As we head towards the end of the day, it's been pretty flat. Both the S&P and the NASDAQ still kind of chopping around. Not a heck of a lot of action. A lot of economic data to come this week. A lot of Fed speakers to come this week. We're going to get PCE later in the week. We'll get a look at GDP later in the week as well. So market kind of hanging out ahead of that. This is Bitcoin on a daily chart right now. Back to the downside a little bit today, but some of the equities related to cryptocurrencies still having a pretty nice session. Coinbase up 3.5% so far. Here's RDHL, a few little tiny ones flying around. A lot of people talking about this one today. Broke a dollar, consolidating back below it right now. There was an FDA nod today on RDHL. This one as well, ASST, still day highs inbound. Right now it's about to break a dollar. For ASST, there was a share repurchase program announced today. For that one. Overall, yeah, about 50-50 here as far as positive versus negative. This is the S&P 500. I mean, a lot of red really on this board at this point, including energy names down here, pretty red, banks pretty red, healthcare stocks pretty red, mostly in the pharma space. Lilly, J&J, and Merck, all better part of 1% to the downside. Some tech strength still helping out. Apple's flat, but NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and Qualcomm offsetting. Broadcom, they finalized or closed their acquisition of VMW. So VMW, no longer a publicly listed stock. That one's been around a long time. They came out today at lunchtime as well and said they were laying off a whole bunch of people from VMW. Was expected, but still hate to hear that going into the holiday season. CRM here, as far as individual tech stocks are concerned, CRM having a nice day, 0.5%. Adobe and Microsoft, both of these with Black Friday related headlines out this morning. We'll see what happens with Cyber Monday. Maybe get some more figures on that coming up tomorrow. But I was kind of surprised with Amazon today. I was telling Ramin that there's no, if you're not subscribed to Prime, no deals whatsoever. Everything is regular price. If you want a deal, you got to be a Prime member. So that's Amazon for you. I'm not surprised. In the past, I know there's been availability. What?
On Prime?
No, I do.
Oh,
But I wasn't logged in. Neil's talking to me from the back. We'll get to you in a second, Neil. Hold on. We were discussing a whole bunch of things. If you're with us in the pre-market this morning, a lot of them had to do with the retail space and this Black Friday numbers that we were talking about this morning. Pretty impressive, to say the least. Some of which came from Shopify, some of which came from the buy now, pay later stocks. We'll get to that in a second. Affirm still having a pretty good day. But here's Amazon. Let's jump right into it. 1.4% here. There's been not much to do since that initial test of basically the highs from Friday, and then right back to 148, guys. Sideways since for AMZN.
Yes, sir. And like that was me in the peanut gallery, just because I don't know. I feel the way that was said, I felt like it made it seem like, oh, I'm not getting any deals because I don't have a Prime membership. But it makes perfect sense. Like, why would you not make people subscribe to your subscription service so that they can get all the good deals, get the recurring revenue, make all the money, rule the world, yada, yada, yada. That's what they're all doing. What's interesting to me about Amazon is if you ever watch Demolition Man, where like every restaurant turns into a Taco Bell. Like, first of all, I love that movie, but I feel as if like here it's just going to be a little bit different. There won't just be one company that rules them all. In science fiction, it's always but the one company that rules them all. I think in this particular case, you're going to have a bunch. Amazon probably one of them. Today was a retail kind of day. I wonder why. Black Friday. If you watch the morning show, you know I'm happy with my coffee grinder that I bought on Black Friday, and I'm not happy with the performance of the bills. We'll leave it at that. So Amazon, we had a couple of ideas for the long trade, most of it involving the daily chart busting out the high. So there's your 148 previous top. Lo and behold, it went stop hunting early, and then when it reclaimed, it found a bottom here, holding on to Friday's close. Every chart's going to look like this. 1 o'clock we close, then you got all this aftermarket action. But suffice to say, it held on to the highs from Friday at the 147. Once it made that bounce, I was back into the long to the high of the day, and then it snapped right back for that tight stop. Then I got back in long as it took out here. Probably didn't need to scalp it. Was able to get some out in front of 149. Eventually trailed out under VWAP. And then look at it hold 148. Too bad it's not doing anything right now. I feel as if unless we're unless you want to scalp this for like the 30, 40 cents in here and then catch a break, the way the market pulled back and the way we saw what happened with Meta just now, I think you'll want to see this test a bit lower before making another trade here. And speaking of Meta, just because I know everyone's looking, well, okay, not everybody, but I know most people are probably looking at Meta after what we just saw take place. If you were watching the market, you saw this take place. It's coming right back into the low. So I don't know what the story is here, but Meta suddenly went from, hey, let's look at retail, and then Microsoft was going nuts today, to Meta is all of a sudden the big name to watch this afternoon. Maybe it holds on to this pre-market bottom. We'll see. 335.5 is a decent enough level. 335 is a good level for Meta. It does seem like it wants to test back into the lows, though.
Yeah, definitely a lot of retail moving around there, Neil. You could have pretty much got long a lot of retail off of the morning consolidations, and I think you would have been pretty fine here. I pulled up a couple of these tickers just to see how they've done. Of course, we've been involved with Amazon, but Target, very nice dip off of this 130, kind of doesn't really reach previous day's low, reclaims previous day's consolidation that happened for over 2 hours on the day, and then we just blast off through that. I also got Nordstrom here. Nordstrom, very, very steady, kind of not as much volatility off the open, but definitely one of the retail names that's catching a much cleaner bid. But obviously now we're getting pretty sideways. Take a look at that large volume candle, and then I think that really bakes in the move there as we're going sideways on top of 115. Same thing with Walmart right here. Yeah, right off the open, much less consolidation here on Walmart. Again, being a little bit of a higher price ticker, I think you can almost expect that little bit of a spread, a little bit of that volatility. And yeah, with a lot of those retail names, straight up off the open. Same thing with Amazon. You know, we were there, but kind of a little bit of a shake and bake happening with that strong selling right into previous day's highs right there, and then that gets bought right back up, and then holding that VWAP all day. So retail definitely in play today.
Before we his homework and watch Talladega Nights, if he's going to say shake and bake over and over again.
You know what? I'm gonna make that list right now.
Well, I'm just
movies to watch.
You keep saying shake and bake. You don't even know where it comes from. Shake and bake. You're not old enough for shake. Like you damn sure don't make shake and bake. Do you even know what that? You know what that?
Yeah, I know what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he knows. Hi, I'm Neil. I like bad
movies
puns.
to watch.
I like movies. I also like some fried chicken. I don't give a damn. I like fried chicken too. Let's go back to the desk. It's just true. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant, Brendo. Brilliant.
I don't know where that went. Anyway.
Brendo, mute. Yeah.
There we go. What I was saying was, I was just having a look at Shopify, we'll get to here next. Since the earnings gap, or 2 days before the earnings gap, so call it a month. 1 month, the stock is up 63%.
Wow.
Unbelievable, including a pretty solid 5.5% move today. We just took out day highs right now, back above $74 here for Shopify, benefiting heavily from the past 2 days of shopping as well.
Yeah, well, guys, the gross merchandise volume, which is a key metric that it uses, up big, about $4.1 billion. It's about 22% year over year. So I guess they were kind of anticipating this. Also, you know, we talked a little bit about the Adobe Analytics with respect to the amount of retail sales that we're going to have on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Black Friday up 7.5% year over year in terms of sales, and Cyber Monday today is supposed to be $12 billion, which is up 6.1%. We'll find out when we get all the data for that, Brendo. Also, one last point, the average order value for Shopify grew decidedly year over year, about 6.2% over this time last year in 2022.
And like this per minute processing number is insane as well. Like 4.2 million in purchases processed per minute back on Friday at the peak. So yeah, this daily chart, guys, is getting out of control here.
Shopify.
Although, like, despite the fact this is our big tech company here in Canada, I was not one of those transactions processed because, heck, I didn't use it. So is what it is. I used Amazon, though, and I own Amazon shares. Hello, I am not just a Hair Club for Men founder. I'm also a client. No, I'm not. That's another old reference. You're not going to get that. But Shopify on the run, still running as the market pulls back. This is still arrows up. Broke out on the daily here, 71.5. Look, once you make a break like this, I am just favoring the long until you get back underneath that previous resistance and it does not turn into support. So what did that mean? It meant that's, oh my God, I just said that. I say a lot of word sauce nonsense when we talk all day long. I definitely have never said it meaned before. Oh, for the love of, come on, Neil, I know it's Monday. So we just bounced in the morning off that 71.50. As long as that happened, I'm looking long. It regained 72. We went long the 72.5, which was the previous pre-market low, into 74. It then bounced off 73. We reloaded that. And the only mistake is not still being long. But Shopify gave you 2 good longs after the wipeout bottom. And you know what? Now it's holding above the, as the market's pulling back, this is still breaking out now above 74. I don't mind the notion of a 74 long in here. First available dip, we're going grip it and rip it on Shopify because this is still super strong. I mean, a firm pullback. Amazon's not really doing much anymore. The market's pulling back. Shopify is still breaking out. The undefeated long today would be Shopify. 5.5%. Nothing like something which is relatively strong going into the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some strength there. Not really reflective of some other names, so relatively strong for sure there. And I think something interesting to note is the bounce off of last week's high, right? We've only been making higher highs and higher lows on this name on the larger time frame. We kind of talked about it in the morning. Since its earnings report, we had that nice consolidation on top of 60, and we're getting that continuation move on the longer time frame up into that 75. So definitely got room to go. Again, looking left on the chart here, take a look at the daily. We spoke on these levels here, kind of that 78. 80, a little bit of a gap fill into these 85. So if we're looking at it even a longer term trend here, Neil, maybe I'm looking for a 50% retracement of this crazy move that we've had here. What is that? That's about 150 points. So we're looking for about a 75 point move back up to the upside. And let me just see where that would be right here, underneath that 100 mark, exactly, or not exactly, but just underneath that 100.
What's crazy is that's a level too.
Yeah, it's all, yeah, of course. It's this is a beautiful thing I like about the mathematics that kind of go on in the background of some of these tickers. Like you can look for that 33%, that 50%, that 70, 66%, or whatever it is, like retracement if it's going to be there. And especially after we've consolidated for so long on these lows, and then we finally picked a direction, I think that is more than valid in terms of looking for that potential move.
All right, let's talk about another one of these. Affirm having a huge day here today as well, 11% right now, and that's well off the highs. I was just noting, I thought we got this already, but apparently PDD's reporting this week.
Oh, okay.
Which
That's going to be hit for Temu app.
Exactly, and on the e-commerce side of things as well, we'll hear about their singles day numbers as well, hopefully coming up. That's tomorrow morning, actually, we'll get that. Anyway, 11%, as I was mentioning, for Affirm coming off this same catalyst. I wanted to kind of zoom out here and give you a little bit of a look at what happened last week. Obviously, the half day is not going to be a lot of volume, but even going back to Wednesday of last week, very, very low on the volume scale of things. So relatively speaking, huge today. Yeah,
the highly shorted name having itself a great day, but there's a more fundamental reason why this is running. It's because a record number of price-pinched shoppers are looking to basically kick the can down the road this holiday season. So a lot of purchases are being made using this BNPL, buy now, pay later services, whether it's Klarna or Affirm. Essentially, shoppers are slated to spend between $12 to $12.4 billion today on Cyber Monday, and Adobe Analytics theorizes or believes that about 19% increase of buy now, pay later services year over year. So we'll have to see how they do, but yeah, good luck today.
Yeah, monster day for Affirm, guys. A lot of these other ones, I was just going to double check. The last number I had as far as short is concerned, yeah, it's still around 15% I see for AFRM, but all of these up huge today.
Yeah.
Well, so I see, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I see 20% for the short float on Affirm. But that's a trade idea. I mean, you can look at Flow Checker's a good one too. You can see it's a good resource. But this chart's going to show you how you can like the long off of 27 and like the short at 30 and still not be happy with your trading. Pretty obvious. That's because I got out at 28.40 on a 27.70 long, and then I shorted and almost made the top wick. So I mean, obviously $30 ended up being good. Not with me, it didn't. But again, we always talk about if you're going to make counter trend trades or just any trade in general, you have to have an out. So when it runs the stop, it runs the stop, and I get out. Simple as that. What's interesting and seemingly coincidental is where it did for a brief, it did pause when it get rejected 28.50, and that's when I got this out here. It then ends up holding this for support. So Affirm at 28.5. That looks like something. Again, everything started with the fact that it was breaking out on the daily at 27. So much like Shopify, we're just looking for the long setups. It just happened to be a break at the top. It could have also set up the other way, like a bounce off 27 even. Could have played out for you as well. But there aren't many levels on Affirm when you zoom it out here past that 27, when you get right to 31. So it's still, when you zoom this thing out, think about the next couple of days and weeks, if this isn't just some kind of a fad, this 10%, and we're going to continue this bull run the stock has been on more or less since March. All roads lead to 31. That 28.5 looks like a good support level for this afternoon. That's what I would probably jump to. I don't know why this is still on Tesla. Who cares? But yeah, that 28.5, if it gets back down there, I think that's where I would look for any kind of a long. I don't know if we see it 30 or 31 today. Seems like it's running out of juice. But if you weren't looking at, whether it's a retail name or some of the fintech names and this name that was running this morning, you kind of missed the boat. There were easy enough breakouts, and then there were easy enough follows if you could have had this long. My mistake was not either getting back into it or just holding it a little bit longer. Sometimes it's not that complicated. A bunch of people use the service. It was already a beaten up stock. It has a short float. It broke out. You just have to be able to hang on to that trade a little bit longer.
Yeah, definitely a missed one in my books for sure, because I was a little bit more focused on Amazon, but very, very clean move here, kind of again pointing out this post earnings high, which became a double top at that 27. And then, after the open, you come in, because you're trading above that, you come in and then you hold that level right there on that 27, and that really gives you a little bit of direction when you re-break that pre-market high. And I saw Neil's trade there, taking the long off the pre-market high break. Very, very solid move there. But coming right back in to this 28.5, again, looking a little bit further back on the chart, we can see that these are potential levels of interest for sure. Kind of that 27 showing up once again right here, and I think that 28.5 is a little bit interesting as well. Kind of a little bit of a continuation move, a multi-time frame breakout on Affirm happening today.
All right, as I mentioned, crypto downside a little bit here this afternoon, but coin having quite the day here, 3.7%. I just saw they have denied Zhao, the former CEO of Binance, the ability to go to the UAE from the US. Quote unquote, for now, he has to stay in the US. So I was wondering if this was going to get an uptick from that, but no reaction whatsoever. Obviously, the news coming out late last week, and it's been upside for quite some time here for coin.
Yeah, he was looked at as a flight risk. At least that's what the prosecutor was saying. I mean, I don't get it. He's already paid the fine. His company's paid the fine. He's personally paid the fine. Whatever the case is, we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. But Crypto was in focus this morning because Brian Armstrong was in England discussing cryptocurrencies with Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, and others there. He made a very interesting statement about regulatory, scrutiny and, basically bringing regulation into the industry. He believes that this is actually going to bring more money, not less money, into the space. So he's a big champion of that. We'll have to see how this does. Obviously, he said, I think regulatory clarity is going to help bring in more investment, especially from institutions. He goes on to add. So we'll have to see how it does. But yeah, that spot Bitcoin ETF coming soon, possibly.
It's worth noting yields day lows, dollar day lows right now, the 10-year, the 20-year, the 30-year, all coming off pretty heavy right now. But I mean, overall, the market also downside. So that's kind of interesting, but worth a note.
Okay, so before we get to Coinbase, Joe Peck, I'll just answer your question right now. You probably guessed it right. Like, where is your stop on Palantir? I don't usually put it, like, you could throw it right at like 11, because this is 1912. I didn't get this dip buy. Obviously, we're trading other things this morning, but you could put it at that penny. Suffice to say, it's within 5 cents of that bottom. Right? So it's pretty tight to that 1912 low, which it's sitting at right now. If it breaks it, I'm out. I'm long at 19 here. I don't really want to lose more than 10 or 11 cents on this trade. I got offer if we're going to go upside, but actually I canceled some of those. This market doesn't seem like it wants to run. We're probably headed back for the 16,000 level. So we took the dip buy on Palantir. It didn't necessarily have an obvious catalyst. I just love that setup for continuation in the afternoon. When you get that false bottom and then you start holding like pre-market highs or previous closes, which it did both of, but you're not really getting back above it. Coinbase, so here's the thing about when you're wrong is you've got to be able to just get out of the way, right? So we were talking about it this morning and I looked at that 37,000 level on Bitcoin and simply said, okay, I want to look for the pop and fade trade off of the previous close. So early on, scalping it was actually not bad. Like I was able to get a couple of wins in there before, with relatively tight stops and able to get some fills down to the 113 level, and I was shorting off 114.20. And then the trade came into the 115. I had it in there 114.90. It took out, like that was in, never gave you a chance, and then just broke it out. Hindsight is always 20/20. So I know it seems obvious. Well, then if you like that level, why didn't you just go long at 115.50? Because it wasn't part of my plan to reverse. It is what it is. It wasn't part of the plan to reverse. However, when I look back and I review this, where I should have been long is not necessarily there. It wasn't part of the plan. Don't have to do it. It's right in here at about 118. Like it shows you that push through where I got out right into 118.5. The initial pullback from that level goes to 117.25. It then holds that bottom again before going on another bull run. So after this point, whether it's at 117.5 or 118 is splitting hairs, that's where I think there's a re-entry. Not a re-entry, but an entry into the long for me. I was probably never going to get it here because I was short biased on the stock. I'm definitely not going to get it there because I was short biased on the stock at that point. I was looking for a short trade. So you've got to be able to take your hits. It's all about risk management. I was short 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entries, essentially 3 trades on 5 entries. However, you never want that to be, it cannot be worse than a winning trade, or at least a couple winning trades, depending on how well it worked for you. That's the way I look at it, right? Sure, there were some wins along the lines, but I'm not going to end up down on that stock more than I'm going to make on, say, Shopify. Otherwise, you're doing something wrong fundamentally. But the mistake to me was not joining the party at 118. It's still super strong. I don't know if I'd want to fight this one to the south side. I would probably look at maybe if you're looking for a pullback trade on the crypto names, look at these charts. It's almost like I didn't flip the chart. That's Mara. That's Coinbase. I know okay, fine, you can tell that I flipped it, but it's very, very different. So I don't know if I want to fight them. There's weaker things out there. Palantir, oddly enough, did not bounce, did not stop me out. So if it gets above VWAP, I am going to take some of this out.
Yeah, I think the sustained move on a lot of these crypto names has a little bit to do with the Bitcoin trend that we were talking about in the morning. But again, that's just a little bit of a speculation on my part. But Bitcoin has held, excuse me, every kind of strong drop that we've had over the past couple of weeks. And there is a little bit of a dominant uptrend here. As you can see, we kind of gap up and then hold these 33s, and then we've been gradually kind of just trending up there. And yeah, definitely Coinbase showing some of that continuation move as well, kind of a little bit more pronounced as we bid back up into some of these previous levels here, or back through them. We saw how well we had that churn around that 115 on Friday, and we talked about this morning. It's been literally more of the same. You have the strong price action in the morning session, and it starts to get a little bit sideways here as the day goes on. So the question for me becomes, are we going to close in and around this 120, and is this multi-day strong trend? Are these buyers going to keep stepping up day after day? I'll definitely be watching this 121.5, 122 coming in tomorrow if we kind of close in and around these prices. That 120 seems like a great place to kind of interact with.
Real quick, just to wrap things up here, Lucid 2.25% here, just bouncing off. I don't know why I'm so excited about that, but just bouncing off this low from this morning, once again on a downgrade this morning from Lucid. You had a whole bunch of really interesting numbers to talk about as far as deliveries are concerned. It's been pretty disappointing, to say the least, for them this year.
Brendo, 4,300 cars. I mean, that's what they've delivered. They've delivered 4,300 Lucid Airs. They'll run you about over $100,000 each at least. So probably one of the reasons it's not doing that well in a high rate environment. But this morning, Chris Pierce of Needham cut his rating from Lucid from buy to hold. He says, our Lucid downgrade stems from demand weariness, despite our bullishness on their technology advantages versus its peers, and a positive view of their recently unveiled Gravity SUV. You know that's the SUV they put in. Elon talked about this as well. He said the demand for his Model 3 and Model Y were less because of high rates. So we'll have to see how that affects Lucid.
Yeah, unfortunate. I mean, we were just saying off camera there, like at some point you would think one of these is going to be another player in this space, but who knows who it's going to be? Is it Rivian? Is it Fisker? Is it Lucid? We shall see. The rundown, as always, brought to you by our friends over at Trade Ideas. Yep, still 25. Go take advantage of it if you have not. 25% off. Trader TV 25, bottom right corner of the screen right now. I can't get to it, but trust me, it's down there. Use that code. Go save yourself 25% off. Shout out to Trade Ideas.
That's right. The deal's still on. Lots of deals still on there. There's a deal on EV stock if you're interested in it. You probably aren't. Interestingly enough, when I was at my daughter's acro, it's like acrobatics class. If anyone that doesn't know what acro is, it's like an acrobatics class. It's like kind of dance and kind of gymnastics. And apparently there's like a world championship for this. They take it very seriously. But one of the other dads, he works at an auto company, and they're retrofitting their plant to go all EV. So we spent the entire time talking about EVs, which was pretty cool for me because usually we just sit there, and it's like, yeah, you'll talk about how your kid's doing and blah, blah, blah. And that was interesting to have a really good, intelligent conversation about EVs with someone who really knew his stuff. It was like talking to Randy, man. But today, congratulations, if you were short.
Oh boy.
So like Lucid is what we were just talking about. I guess I can go over Lucid. I'll go to Lucid first because you know what? This is still holding this 410 level on Lucid. I don't know if we see it again today. Come on, PC load letter. Let's go. 410. There's 410. There is 4. Okay, now it's way faster. Okay, so there's your 410 level on Lucid. For about a week and a half, it's been support. You got another bounce off it today. Congratulations if you took it. I was looking short. Fisker's the one that set it up, and as usual, Fisker just crapping all over itself. There's the flat bottom break, didn't get it. It bounced off 2, which is great. It was SSR down 10%, bouncing off 2. So when it retested 2, it broke 2, and I shorted 199. Maybe the most simplistic trade idea you can put out there, but you know what? Boring is a lot of fun in trading. Right? Like it broke 2, you short 199, it never gets back above. It's barcoding at 190. If it breaks 190, I'm getting out in the 80s. So that's about as simple as it gets, guys. PC load letter, Jay Haas. I like to drop references from movies that only old people get. So that's one from Office Space. Like most people, I'm not going to explain, whatever. You can watch Office Space. It's a fantastic movie. You will laugh your you-know-what off if you watch that film, I promise you. Like, you're not going to go wrong with that. Even though a lot of the jokes they make are a bit, and they don't make too much sense unless you understand like office politics and all that normal stuff from like a long time ago. But it is still a fantastic flick. Yeah, you call me a boomer all you want. That's fine. It's still funny. No one's gonna watch that and not like it. But let's go. Okay, let's get out of this for a second. Like, you lucid, blah blah blah. I want to get to Meta for just a quick sec here. Apparently Biden's talking, but Meta is testing these lows. It just bounced once off these bottoms from the open, 335.5, trying to hold on to 336. If this market tests 16,000, it's hard to imagine Meta isn't flat bottom breaking this out to the downside. And again, I don't know what the story is here, but just look at this 335.5. It's not nothing. Look at me saying ain't again. 335.5 was a breakout price going back into last week. If we don't hold on to this, I could really see Meta falling like an absolute rock. Again, not really sure what the story is with Meta. See, you guys get it. The stapler, Michael Bolton. I knew a few people would get that reference.
I haven't seen Office Space, but I think it was just last year I finally got around to watching The Office. That was a pretty solid show. I think.
Solid.
Yeah, I liked it. At first, I was a little skeptical. I was just like, I'm not really into like these kind of shows. And then you watch the first episode, you're like, all right, this is worth a try. And then you just literally get pulled into it. That was pretty an interesting experience for sure.
Great show.
But yeah, for sure. And a lot of gold meme material as well, right? That kind of got me a little interested because you start seeing all these memes from The Office, and you're like, all right, well, if it's that funny, I gotta give it a try. And no regrets for sure on that try.
I see you on that one. I always forget the name of that movie though.
We're the Millers.
Yes.
We're the Millers.
We are the Millers. Yes.
Adara was not playing around with that. You should she literally jumped out of her seat to make sure she got me that one. That's dedication right there. Shout out to you, Adara.
We were talking about Lucid. I think.
We were talking about Lucid, but I don't think there's going to be a trade in
Yeah,
Lucid.
it's
So let's do this because we just talked a little bit about EVs and pivot to Tesla, which is strong today.
Yes. I mean.
So Tesla is,
Yeah.
of all of the stocks that made runs today, I feel like Tesla, okay, I missed my shot at it because I didn't really go back to the 235 level. However, it's holding up. So you have Meta, which is breaking down. Meta might take out that bottom any second now. But you have a lot of names that are breaking down with this pullback in the NASDAQ, but you're holding the highs for now on Tesla. So if we do bounce off 16,000, like this, holding the opening range top, like the morning highs, is a good sign above 236.25. It's not all bad. I know I said EVs to the downside, blah, blah. I meant like Fisker and the other bad boys. I wasn't necessarily talking about Tesla, which is up on the day. Neil, you missed all the chips today. That was a play. That's fair. I think I said this today. Like I was, like Amazon was a good long. Shopify was a good long. Affirm was a good long. Yes, if I had been looking at Intel today instead of those three, probably would have made. But who cares? It's just like it ends up the same way anyways. But if I was only looking at the chips, I probably would have had a good long on Intel. It's set up really nicely. It held Friday bottoms. Right there, it broke out the 44, held support 44, went to 44.5. I like those even dollars to half dollars on Intel. It gave you exactly that move. But it wouldn't have been all good. I think I would have lost money on ARM today. I'm pretty darn sure I would have lost on ARM the way it fell. Possibly I could have caught like a little bounce trade in there somewhere to have made money, but I think I would have been going for the buy the dip and I would have lost. It's not always that simple. I just felt like it was an easier trade in some of those retail names today, and that was the focus. They were the ones that were in play. They were the ones that I wanted to get over to. But this little pullback, speaking of retail, not much of a dip there in Shopify. Just got to 74.15 maybe at best on this little dip. It doesn't seem to want to give you anything tight to that 74, which is what I would like to get for sure. And Ponzi Fonzie, let me know what you. So here's the quote from Ponzi in the chat here. Idiocracy is playing out in real time, bro. So I'm not sure what you mean by that, but if you are referencing the fact that people are talking about The Rock running for president, no, but that's if you've seen Idiocracy, that's the movie. Camacho, President Camacho. It's like the dude's a former wrestler. It's like it's a great movie. If you've never seen it. Again, it's pretty funny.
Is The Rock actually running for president?
Oh no, there was.
Oh.
No, I don't think he is. I remember hearing I just heard some stuff. Like people were asking him all the time in public appearances, "Are you running for office?" And then he'd never say no.
Huh. That'd be
Like, what is it with the whole, if people ask you if you're running for president to a public figure, people just don't say no? It's like, oh, yeah, I'll just...
Yeah, they want to keep their options open, maybe? I don't know.
Like, what is that about? Someone asked me if I'm running for prime minister, I'm just, no. I'm flattered that you asked that. That's crackhead. You don't want me as the prime minister. I don't have a filter. It doesn't work. Like, it flat out wouldn't work for me. But shout out to... No, I Spy Options, The Rock is not running. That's my bad if I gave you that impression. Jameson Barna asking, can we look at AT&T? First question. Okay, so AT&T actually is making a decent bounce on the daily. I'm curious as to what why you like the stock today. I can tell you what I see for AT&T. That is nice bottom off 13.5, trending to the upside. There's a 200 period at 16.30, and its recent resistance at that level. So if I zoom in, there you can see it. This is the big resistance level that it's testing right now, but it's not breaking out. That's also the 200 period moving average right here. So if this breaks 16.40, this could be trend long. Why not? But as for a trade today, I don't know what you do with this. I guess you go long 16.10 and you take 10 cents. That's your trade today. But when it takes out, okay, if it takes out this high, I should always say if, not when. If it takes out that high, I think you can be trend up for a few days on this. I mean, let alone like a week or two. Just given how big this level is on AT&T. So that is one worth watching. Shout out to the chat. Mike Judge is 100% an absolute genius. And Brondo is exactly what your plants need. I'd drink Brondo if they gave it to me. You're not going to get that one either. So yeah, I think AT&T could be giving you a bit of a trend long. I don't know if that's where we want to focus today. Unless you're scalping it for like really, really small amounts, that's what it'll be. Oh, I forgot to say this on the morning show. Obviously, you see Obi's in here for my man Sean, but don't worry, we still got you covered aftermarket. The market recap, as always. I know I say this every single time because you could be tuning in for the first time. We still got the market recap. I'll be doing it. I already talked to Michael Noss. He's going to be on. He wasn't on this morning. He had an appointment, but Michael Noss is going to be on. Then we have Zscalers, the big one, reporting aftermarket. We got some trades to go over. So everything is going to be as per normal. We'll still have fun. We'll still do the roll call. We'll still review some trades. I'm curious, what do you guys think we should review for the trades? Because it could be coin. Like, I was thinking I should review the coin trade just because, like, not only was it, like, my losing stock today, the retail was good long. It's easy to pick apart a long. But, like, coin and those runners on crypto, like, they were probably the best long trade today. But it's all hindsight. But they were easily the best long trade.
I mean, coin showed you what it was trying to do on Friday.
Well, that's
right.
And this is why I'm pissed off at myself. I'm pissed off, man. Like that's Chris Tucker. But that's exactly the point. Like, if you come to the chart for a second, Ram.
Hey.
I caught you on your phone. No, just because I just told you like 5 minutes ago, Ram, I don't have a filter. That's why I could never go into politics, because I have trouble not saying what I think. Which you can't do that in politics, man. You cannot say what you think. But this showed you what you wanted to do. Like okay, I was about to say how dumb do you have to be, but then I'm talking about myself, so I shouldn't say it that way. But seriously, how dumb do you have to be to look at this, fail, break the bottom, break out the top. Fail, break the bottom, break out the top. It's exactly the same chart, more or less.
Same
I mean, it's more or less the exact same chart.
Yeah.
The one thing you don't want this to happen to you in trading, in a general sense. If a stock does a very big move, like an outsized move the day before, you kind of don't want to get caught against the exact same thing happening the following day, right? Like, if it does this, it's almost as if your first look should be, well, if it just kind of does that again, just go for the long. That's like the most simple thing should be what you're trying to do. What else here? Zion Lala, yeah, I guess, but maybe not. You don't want me in politics. I'm no good at that. I like simple things. Politics are not simple. It's too complicated. Palantir, this looks like it is going to break down this time, and Meta still has not taken out that low, but Shopify, for the first time since this afternoon, is now setting up for a bit of a bounce play. Now, I acknowledge the market's weak here, and I'm looking at some of the stocks that I like for a still chance at the long. Shop off that 74, so kind of making lower highs here. This could be a short-lived play. Like I wanted it coming in, it just showed a bit of a bounce off the 15 there. Yeah, sometimes you get trapped into that. Like it bounces off 10, and then I saw it get back above 15. Buyer shows up at 15, I join and get insta-filled. You never, once it holds a level, it holds 10, then gets to 15, looks like there's a buyer at 15, you generally don't want it to be easy to get filled, like you put bid in and it clears the entire level. That's typically a bad sign. So I'll still give it to 74 here. I was considering whether I wanted to just punch out. No, I'm going to give it to 74. Stick to the plan until it shows me a reason not to. Can we Taz is telling me to check out GME. I do want to get there. Just I want to remind everybody about Meta here. Like if Meta clears out this bottom.
Find some news on that, or?
We didn't find news on Meta. Unless somebody else found news on Meta, I did not. But if this breaks that bottom, I am looking to get in. It'll be a relatively tight stop for a bottom break. But Meta doing its own thing and potentially breaking out these lows. It's pretty darn close.
Yeah, that again, we kind of talked about that price action, unnatural, unusual, whatever you want to call it. It's distinctly different from what we've been doing in the morning. So, right away, I'm thinking maybe some sort of catalyst. I looked at some news sources. I looked at X. Nothing really standing out, but definitely it seems like somebody might know something. I think that's the kind of the conclusion that we came to. And if the market kind of pulls back in as it is, we lost that morning momentum quite early there. And based off that idea, I did get short on the Amazon in and around that 149, and kind of holding this relatively higher low here as well. Kind of that not the pre-market low, opening reaction low there on top of that 147, and then you hold 148 and can't really get past that 149. So again, I think solid reasons to potentially get short for the reversion back into VWAP, and that's kind of the trade that we took there. But with the market kind of giving us this tailwind back to the downside as Apple comes in and tests its VWAP, as Google kind of comes in and looks a little weak. We tried the short on Google much earlier here underneath this 137, and then it comes in, it pops above that 137, and the selling comes right back in. So we do get stopped out of that trade. I didn't really get too aggressive in terms of getting back in and involved at those same prices, but it seems like those prices were not a bad place to get in when the move does come in on the right side here. But yeah, that Meta move kind of testing a multi-day support there in and around these levels. Let's just take a quick look here as Meta continues to kind of come back into the downside. I'm seeing the ES and the NQ quite strong to the downside there. Some strong selling coming in. So potential to break through these levels definitely there. That 335 half testing as of right now, and that is last week's. That's kind of last week's consolidation or midweek low, but that 334 happening right here, it can be a potential next area to look for support. What's going on there, Neil?
So I can't even claim it's a keystroke error because it's not a keystroke error.
Oh,
there's a stop order that, anyways, okay. Long story short, I basically got the short and instantly punched out for like a 2-cent win on Meta. But the reason why it happened, okay, it doesn't really matter, but the reason why it happened is when it made the initial flush to the downside, I anticipated that I might want to go long in front of that level. So I put a stop to cover myself in case I did, but I never took that long position. The stop was in there. It's like cover 100% of your position is the stop. If you don't have a position, it doesn't trigger. However, the second I took a short position, it's like, oh, you got a position now? We'll run that. Oh, there's your stop. Out instantly because it was at that support level. So if you took the break, On Meta at that low of the day, Obi was just referencing, then good for you. It instantly broke even 335 and got down underneath to 334.80. So it was pretty quick win. It's still holding weakness underneath. We're bouncing potentially off 16,000. I mean, if we bounce off 16,000 and hold it for good, Meta has a chance. Obviously, anything does. But I'll take a shot at this again. The chances of me getting the price I want again are relatively slim. Get in here at the evens and just see if we can go. If it breaks 16,000, all is going to be good. But this even dollar level, there's some good action in here battling. There's actually a refresher. Well, there was a refresher at 335.06 there. It looks like they might have given it back up there. And I'll give it the $0.50. Again, you always check your order flow. You'll hear us at the end of the day. I'll go to, Sean and I are like, oh, cancel your stop orders. But that's an example of why you got to do it. Because that breakdown trade was the best. Now the 35 trade's probably not going to be any good. You would have seen me get out of Shopify as well, just to quickly show you guys. Shop had it, broke 74. I'm out. I mean, you're looking for longs off 16,000. I probably want to be back in Shopify. Microsoft, if you're looking for longs off 16,000, I think that's what you want to be in, if anything. I still like Shopify, but Microsoft bouncing VWAP here.
I think
this looks like a good one if you want a long off 16K.
Biden might have said something. I think he might still be talking, right? I think Sharif said that a little bit earlier there, and we got that crazy kind of quadunk. I'm looking at all the tickers here: the SPY, Apple, Amazon, Google, Nvidia. Everything caught a little bit of a sell there, and then the NQs and the ES kind of comes right back in to these prior support levels here. Same thing with Amazon. We saw how strong that 148 kind of was, and it comes right into that 148. I was a little patient just to see what we're doing in and around that price. And yeah, I guess I did miss out on a little bit of the short as it does come in and test that 148. That's kind of what I was looking for. But when it happens real quick like that, I might be looking for that flip trade to kind of come in. But again, got to keep it real tight here. If things are happening because the president is saying things right now, I definitely want to stay as nimble as possible and on my feet, because that was about a 50 penny quadunk almost instantly to the downside there on Amazon, and some aggressive action coming in here across the board as well there, Neil. So definitely something going on. I don't really have
I just turned my head to look at that other channel which puts up headlines on the president talks. I saw literally nothing on there that isn't sort of like the normal. It's just the normal chat. Just I don't know the good way to say it. It's just basically the normal political talk around budget and all that kind of good stuff.
I was just checking X. I think the most recent thing I saw was Biden said that he knows that prices are still way too high for a lot of things.
The rent's too damn high. I think we can all agree on that. That one you get.
Yeah, I got that reference. Yeah,
I can drop references from the last decade. It's entirely possible for me to do so. I don't want to push it too much further than that, but you guys know how it is. So I'm only in one short. The more I think about this Microsoft, because we're about to retest 16,000. Maybe let's see it bounce off this one more time. We're looking a little heavy in here, and not in a good way. I guess heavy's always bad. But anyways, 16,000 bounced once. If it doesn't bounce a second time, I don't think you have to force it long. That was a pretty decent move to the downside that we just did, and a reversal from what we were seeing earlier. So I think you want to respect that. If we get down here and bounce again, I know Microsoft is available. Shopify is available to us in there. There's a lot that you can work with. Look, you're still holding VWAP at Microsoft. I just want to, before I get back to Meta just gave the $0.50, so when I got 1-to-1, I took it. But Apple, I want to get to Apple as well. Oh, this is a miss. 190 on Apple is already gone. So look, I did have a long here, kind of the first consolidation off 190. I trailed it out break even. I think my best fill was at 50s. It's only like a 30-cent win, but it felt like you could have gone to 191, or you're back underneath 190. I think I'm bearish on this stock underneath that 190 level again. I just don't know if we get any chance to bounce back into it. As mentioned on Meta, I should be short this at 335.5. I told you the mistake that I made. Mistakes happen. All you can do is move on to the next trade. There's just nothing you can do about it. I'm not getting back the opportunity to short that breakdown. I don't actually have a flux capacitor or a time machine. If anybody has a time machine, A, don't use it. because only bad things happen. B, then just give it to me. That's what's up. And I miss that, Ram. What do you mean that's okay? No, you can't say something and then don't. Okay, it doesn't matter. She just said something which is probably cool, but she doesn't want us to know what it is. Tesla, that was a strong name. Back into VWAP as well. So Tesla does not hold on to that support at about 236.5. I guess I have to put that one on the back burner, unfortunately. So be patient, be nimble. Now we're feeling like we could have a bit of a bounce play happening. I feel like it should be Microsoft. Like if I'm looking for a long here, Microsoft is also giving. Look where this started going super green, like right here at 378.5. Right, it gets at that level. Now that's where we're going to buy the dip off the 16,000. This is the one. And if it doesn't work, at least the stock with, to me, the strongest dip buy setup at a key price level at 16,000, like that's the one I'm taking. So I'll give it to the local bottom here on Microsoft. I did wait for a little bit more confirmation that we're holding this 16,000, but at the end of the day, I know it's a big pullback, but Microsoft has been on one if you haven't been paying attention to it. And when a stock goes back into a previous breakout price, okay, I'll just go back to the 3-minute. That's terrible. When it goes back to a previous breakout price and then gives me another reason, like it's VWAP and the market at 16,000, I now have 3, maybe even 4 reasons why I like this bounce play as a setup. Yes, it's bouncing off VWAP, but it's also trending on the daily. It's a previous breakout level from earlier, and the futures are at a key level. That's a lot of reasons to like that long. And when you trade, yeah, it's confluence. I mean, and you said it in French, confluence. Yeah. There you go. So we got some confluence, take the trade, and then move on to the next. With the time machine, the state lotteries would all shut down. Yeah, I see the problem with the time machines would never really play out that way.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's like a time police for anybody who's actually pulling that off. We just don't know because we're on like that perfect the time stream. Right?
Well, I've never said this on the show. The number one, in my opinion, the number one time travel movie ever made is called Primer. It's a low-budget indie film, and it is. I might have seen it. It is freaking. They're the only dudes to ever make a time travel movie that is like it's legit. Like it really holds up when you think about it. And there's another one that I want to. There's another one that's slipping my mind, but it'll come to me. Oh shoot. Is it not? It's a Predestination.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Predestination.
Beautiful movie.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful. That's a good movie.
Absolutely great.
That's so Primer, Predestination are 1, 2 for me. I still have it. See, Adair loves it too. Yeah, Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke's been in some like legit movies. It was Gattaca was really good.
Oh, Gattaca is a classic. Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh god, what keeps on? Is it Time Cop? It's not Time Cop. Definitely not Time Cop. I'll enjoy a good Jean-Claude Van Damme film. I was really into martial arts films back in the day, but not Time Cop.
So, what's your favorite martial arts film?
The 5 Deadly Venoms.
Okay.
It's not even like it's not close. 5 Deadly Venoms, 10 times out of 10. I have the DVD at home. Yeah, that's right. And if you're not into kung fu movies, then you probably have no idea what that is, but it's legit. It's got the dubbing. Great martial art. I won't spoil the story for anyone that actually hasn't seen it and wants to.
I like The Drunken Master.
That's a classic.
Beautiful. Yeah, very, very classic. Again, I'm a big Jackie Chan fan, so that was a great movie. I think he did some solid acting.
Oh, that's maybe his best. That's probably his best if we're honest about it. I actually saw Rumble in the Bronx in the theater with my high school buddies. It was the whole crew was there. Like everyone was acting a fool. Like the first time Jackie Chan was on the screen, everybody was acting like an idiot.
As soon as you get out the theater, everyone's like,
"Oh yeah, hell yeah!" Like everybody thinks they could. Look at me, man. I could fight. Like it's just the same stupidity. Like when Fast and Furious came out.
Yep. Street racing literally jumped through the roof.
Real talk. Whatever, man. Like there was a kid in our high school. It wasn't good, bad. And I definitely, at least one time, I don't mess around in my car because I remember after that movie, I did one dumb thing. And I won't even say it because that's how dumb it was, but I'm like, never again. And a lot of people did some dumb ass you-know-what after that movie came out. But I want to get to BDRX here. Shout out to you. Shout out to you guys. All day long you've been talking about it. I do love IP, man, and Mr. Westermeyer, I will get into my favorite actor of all time one day, but this is too much movie talk already. But BDRX, this is, so what Sharif would tell you, right, like I know exactly what he'd be thinking right now. I just got to find my key if I can find this. So the first halt on BDRX, yeah, it's BDRX. I said BRDX this morning, but BDRX is what I meant. The first halt was at 590. Look at the 590 level since. It was even a halt down at this price. Look at the over-under. It's breaking the level, immediately rejecting underneath and coming right back. But lower highs into a descending wedge. That's not good. That's not good at all. If this can take out a fresh low, this could easily halt to the downside. Gotta respect that. I don't want to be trading this. Like if I paid for the locates, I'd be thinking about a breakdown on that stock. I have not paid for the locates, so I will not be doing that. Just checking back in on Microsoft. This is a very muted bounce. So this is what the futures are doing. I just canceled my order, but I want to show you my thought process here. Like this bounce is having trouble going even more than 5 or 10 points. We're at 16.10, and then we're getting to 16.15, and then stalling back out again. This is not a very strong bounce to the upside. So the first initial push, my gut tells me take something of what the first push. And this is the first push. Just go to 78 there. It wasn't giving me 79, went to 78. So I just took some out of Microsoft on that bounce. The other thing to consider on the stair step to the downside, that's 379. So you could easily find resistance right back at that even dollar. If I'm long at the half, let's get some out there and see what happens next. Meta is still working to the downside. That just made another low. Oh, it sucks. Check your stop orders, people. Just make sure you don't have, because that should have been a much better trade. I like the breakdown more than I like 35.
Nice. A couple people talking about NVIDIA in the chat there, so I did pull it up. I think it was Jennifer saying Tesla's falling. Yes, kind of a very nice rejection of yesterday, Friday's high right there. A little bit of a continuation on the sell-off that we've been seeing again from last Wednesday. A bit of a shake and bake action right there off the 235 and coming in today, holding previous day's high, or actually right under that, and coming right back into range there. Yeah, VWAP seems like a decent place to be, but I think the bigger picture kind of move here just over the past week or so is that we literally wiped up off of that 235, come right back in and start consolidating sideways there. And as of right now, in my opinion, sellers are definitely a little bit in control there on the bigger picture. But yeah, unless and until we can get past this 238, kind of a high from yesterday, being yesterday, the last trading day, I think that can potentially give us the move back towards a potential test of this 244, where these sellers kind of come in, not just once, but definitely twice, really showing their hand on the Wednesday there. But yeah, maybe a potential bounce off of VWAP there, because we have been holding. We reclaimed and then did a little bit of a churn on top of that 235, which happened to be that VWAP area as well. And we're coming right back in about a point away from that 235 area. So I think with the market kind of doing that craziness, again, off of whatever catalyst, whatever is being said, that strong quadruped that we've had, getting bid back up a little bit right now. So maybe you get that same sentiment happening there on Tesla there. Ash talking about Intel at VWAP. Yeah, I forget who it was, Neil, but I just heard you say that, yeah, somebody in the chat said we're missing the move on chips. Yeah, definitely AMD kind of strong off the open there. Let's take a smaller time frame. Yeah, this is the 5-minute reclaiming VWAP after 11 and then just going sideways there. So Intel probably looking very, very similar here. Wow, take a look at this VWAP hold on Intel, Neil. This is absolutely beautiful there. Kind of coming in with the dip buy of previous day's range right off the open. You reclaim VWAP and then once, twice, and thrice. Very strong hold on top of VWAP, but again, take a look at this.
The double top, yeah.
Exactly. So you come and pull right back up into these Wednesday prices where sellers were very, very aggressive, and we closed near the low of day there, and it comes right back into those prices. So definitely some interesting action happening here on Intel. Now, bigger picture, when we look at the hourly, this is a consolidation that's happening post-earnings rip up. So bigger picture, I think this is poised for a potential break for that 45.
Yeah, next stop moon.
Yeah.
But like that's what's interesting. We'll show those patterns like stair step up, holding VWAP, consolidation on the daily. Like sometimes it's important to just step back. Sorry, I was going to answer Tass's question on GME, but now I'm talking about Intel because that was the last thing that we just mentioned. But sometimes it's important to keep in mind like what all that's telling you is there's buyers of the stock. And in like in like all of the different ways in which you would look at it technically, like all of those types of things are being bought, right? So it's holding support levels after it consolidates. It's stair stepping to the upside. There's buyers when it dips into VWAP in the middle of the day. Like there's buyers of the stock. It's broken a channel on the daily. Like it's just everything about this has been a long trade, and it has not really shown you anything to suggest otherwise outside of 45. If you shorted that the first time through. So just a couple of things here because the market's bouncing off 16,000. Meta, I'm out at break even. Okay-ish, I'm giving it a couple cents above that 335. We'll see what happens when it gets to 335 and a half. We'll play it by ear. Microsoft continues to work to the upside. I did just take another bid on Fisker because if the market bounces, fair enough, Fisker doesn't care. It broke that flat bottom, so we just took the 185. You do want to make sure on stocks like this, don't look a gift horse them out. We are day trading. I have to be flat at the end of the day. Hold this Fisker short till it goes bankrupt. Not that I would anyways, but keep in mind, if you go to the daily, or maybe better yet the 15 is way better to show this, we just made this wipeout bottom at 180 on Wednesday. And it bounced 180 to 210, which is essentially this failure here. Like look at it fail the gap. You fail this move in here and take out 2. I wish I could tell you I shorted this. This would have been a much better entry, obviously at 210. It's a better entry for 2 reasons, not just because you get a better price, because it's one of my favorite setups. It's the first consolidate, it's the first bounce play, and the first time you can join if you don't have the short at the open. And on a really big trending stock, I want to join the trend the first chance I get, not the second time through. So it's not just that 210 is a better price. It's just the entry that I want 9 times out of 10. If I see a stock do this initially, I'm joining trend here if I can. I didn't get it, but the bottom to me is 175. We get to 175, I'm out. As a matter of fact, I don't have a bid down at 175. So that's where the target is on Fisker. This stock just can't and refuses to find a bottom. Comp SRX, Roku long trim. And thank you, somebody got longs on this. This stock has been absolutely on a tear. So this, I'm assuming you just meant like a dip into 101 or a dip into 101 half there. So nice little bounce play for you on Roku. As long as you found something that worthy of trading off of the dip there to 16,000, when the market came in, find a good stock, dip it and rip it. Oh, come on, Softy, you can do better than that. Or maybe you can't, that's the problem. Maybe Softy can't do better than that. That will be the issue. If that's as far as we go, then the longs aren't going to be much of any good here. If we get 20
you're still long
points,
off that VWAP, right?
Yeah, still long off
Nice.
VWAP.
Nice trade.
I don't know why I feel bearish here, though. Why do I feel bearish this afternoon?
I mean, I don't know. I just tried to get out of a little bit of Amazon off of that bounce as well because I'm playing a similar idea there, the bounce off that 16th thou. And yeah, I kind of canceled my order there when it kind of dips right back down because Apple is strong, reclaiming VWAP, but I think a little bit more information for me at least. Maybe a potential continuation into VWAP's right here. We're only about 10 pennies away from VWAP. So if we are going to truly bounce, I'm going to be looking for a VWAP reclaim. But the fact of the matter is Microsoft already held on top of that VWAP, right? Yep. So now it's just got to break that downtrend.
That's the thing. Like if it can't break the downtrend, I mean, look, if it doesn't break the downtrend, you know we're headed back to 16,000 anyways. Like that's almost a foregone conclusion. But speaking of Meta, I did end up taking 335. Obviously, you guys know I was in the breakdown trade. Didn't last very long. Again, bad stop order. Not a bad stop order, but a keystroke error leaving a stop order in that I shouldn't have. It happens. But once it's back to break even, I'll get out. I'll reassess to 335 and a half. I meant to get to this stock because if you see me trade iRobot at some point, I wanted to at least explain it first. So if you're wondering, anybody wondering why iRobot does this in a couple of days, so Amazon buying iRobot does not have US approval. The deal's for like $51.70 or something like that, the revised price. They got like a note from the EU on Wednesday, or I guess it was Wednesday or Thursday, trading on Friday. note from the EU basically saying that there was a path for them to get approval, and it did this, and was super strong all day long. That essentially went out the window, as you could imagine, in the middle of the day, about 1 o'clock. It dropped like a rock. It went all the way back into 31, which is a previous high. If it retests those lows, like if this is where the stock was trading when it didn't have the EU potential for approval, and that's what the market was pricing it at, who am I to say that's not where it should be? So if it gets back down to that level, I think that's where you look to buy it. Like underneath 31 into 29.5. If I see that today, there's only 55 minutes left, but I would seriously think about that to be sure. But let's see what happens, guys. Yeah, if it gets down there, it has to drop 10%, and you're running out of time for that kind of a move where I'd want to buy a dip. Yeah, so Meta is going up. I'm going to hang on to that Microsoft as it's looking a little bit strong. But I do want to get back on over to some of the retail names there, specifically Shopify. We're in and out that one with a tight stop. Let's go back to the 3. I wanted VWAP here. If I wasn't going to get the 74 bounce, I was looking for VWAP. It's trying to hold VWAP now. So we're now 16 quarter and holding on the futures. So the 16,000 bounce has been pretty good. We can hold on to VWAP here on Shopify. I would look to re-enter that long.
Yeah, we're catching a little bit of a stall there on the bounce. Again, we talked about trying to stay as nimble as possible. As again, I think Biden is still continuing to talk. I don't know if he's done yet. Excuse me, but. Got the mute there. Thank you. So I don't know if he's still continuing to talk, but you got to get your stops in. Make sure quadunks like this don't happen or don't catch you offside. Again, protecting that little bit of a downside there. But we are catching a little bit of a bounce as Softy is holding above VWAP. I'm talking about Apple as well. Apple kind of holding VWAP and coming right back in as well. Amazon holding underneath VWAP, so not really the same story here. But again, I'm going to give it a little bit more time to cook. SPY comes right into that support that we talked about before, in and around that 454, and then holds and continues, which is similar. This is reflected here on the ES as well. Kind of these pre-market and the morning supports coming right back in, and those that buying pressure kind of showing its hand once again off of what is this level 4556. Similar story here with the NQ, strong off that 16 bounce in the morning, and then once again you have a strong kind of quadunk back into that 16. That happens real fast, and then you get a little bit of a bounce off of those levels there. But I don't know if we looked at PayPal today, because I know our firm was running, and we were talking about we were talking about sympathy moves, and PayPal definitely giving us a little bit of a similar price action right there here on PayPal. Let's take a look at the 5-minute chart. Not as clean as a firm as to say, but it does get back above the strong selling that we had on Wednesday, and then claims above VWAP on top of that level 56. So very, very strong kind of action there. Again, using
you missed a good
VWAP.
one.
What did I miss?
Not as firm as a firm.
All right. Okay. All right.
You're not gonna beat Adara on the pun game if you miss layups like that.
I feel like I'm not going to beat you now if you're coming up with gold like that.
Oh, my puns suck. Everybody, like it's fine, and it's entirely cool. Like everybody here knows, I make the bad puns and I steal the good puns from other people because that's how I roll. I'm into Shopify now. This consolidation, the market looking good on the bounce. There's your consolidation long. Looks for a little confirmation that it was going to hold. So now I'm in it. This time I will use 74 as, obviously 74 is a psychological level. It was the early top. It just broke down. Look at the candle when it breaks 74. We get back up there. I definitely want to have an out in front of that 74 level. Steve G, dad puns. Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. You know what it is? And this is actually true. Everyone talks about the whole dad joke thing. The reason why that, at least in my estimation, the reason that's a thing is because your kids laugh at everything that you say. Like whether I'm funny or not, it's just like my daughter's in stitches. Like I'll do voices and she thinks I'm like Afion Lockett or like Jamie Foxx or somebody that does impressions well, which is cool. It's fine. So when I tell a bad joke, I'm used to getting positive reinforcement. And that's why dads do it, because you get all this positive reinforcement for really crappy jokes, and so you tell them over and over again, and that's the reason for all of that. However, in trading, if the market rewards you for doing something, you do more of it, right? So the way I see it, when I tell you guys bad jokes and bad puns, like I'm reinforcing positive, I guess, actions. Yeah, I'm convincing myself of nonsense right now and it sounded really good when I was saying that. It really did for a second sound really good, and now I'm like, no, that was absolute nonsense. Were you laughing at me?
No, I enjoyed.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I mean, I don't agree with me on that one. I was trying to word sauce that one into my bad puns are a good thing, and
I make terrible puns.
and that's Zippy Zane. That's not how it works. Lava News, but I like those jokes. Lava News. Congratulations. See, Lava News, come here. You were here, but now you just took it to a whole another level. Stole that too. That's not even my joke. That's Keegan Michael Key. Who cares? Shopify, it just stalled out at the 80 level. Consolidation break, whatever the first move is in Power Hour, I'm grabbing something off of that. And you just want to make sure you do it. That way, if we can rinse and repeat, we can get ourselves a better price on the way back in. Let's see what happens. Ponzi, Mr. Katina is back tomorrow. He's taking a long weekend. Generally speaking, like this is one of those prime times for traders right around the Thanksgiving holiday. Realistically, like it's actually almost a more popular holiday for traders in my years than Christmas. Like I think like over the years, I was far more likely to take time off Thanksgiving week than I was outside of the obviously stat holidays for Christmas, around Christmas time. So Shopify we're back into. Okay, Fisker's still looking pretty solid. Just double checking back in on Microsoft. It still looks, hit enter a third time, still looks pretty good, but it is pulling back into VWAP here. I want to give this one another chance to bounce off VWAP for me. I do want this one to, if we get an extended move, I can see 380 on this. So I'm actually thinking about where am I going to add to this position? And for now, it would be VWAP, but I'm open to the notion of like this 378, 75 area. That could be one for sure. Low, Santa Claus rally in December, gotta trade Christmas. I said this before. Now, my understanding, and if I'm wrong about this, you guys can at me all you want. It's just this is what I've always read. The Santa Claus rally is like it's like the last few days, but then it extends into January. So it's not even before Christmas. Like it's
Through Christmas?
I think it's like the last 3 or 4 trading days of the year, and then the first week or something of the following year. But it's definitely not. It's not where you usually would think. Like it's not into Christmas, like the middle of December. It's literally the end of December into the following year. So whether that's everyone's done all their tax loss selling and they start buying it all back up with a couple of days to go, that could easily be it as well. Yeah. I mean, if it's November to January, I think the market typically is bullish in November. I don't know. I like those seasonal things. I find if you're a swing trader, I feel like you're going to know them a lot better. And if you're a day trader, like they're good anecdotes, but a lot of times, well, if I'm seeing a trend happening over days and weeks, as a day trader, I'm noticing it when I come in every single day. So it's not as important to note it because you'll see it when it's there, and then you'll worry about the setups that happen to you on that particular day. So for swing traders, it's probably more important if you're into that kind of thing that you would know it.
The yearly sale on stocks happens on average every September, I think.
Yeah, I mean, generally
for like
yeah, in a general sense.
So definitely, I think watching out for those yearly cycles definitely helps for the swing trades again, and day trading as well. Again, this was I think one of my first seasons where I did observe that kind of September low sell-off happen a little bit there. But yeah, very, very interesting price action. I think going forward, that's definitely something to keep in mind and maybe even lean a little bit more on the short side or just be a lot more nimble with the longs. That's kind of what I learned from that price action, but definitely useful for the swing trades.
Definitely useful. You know what else is useful? This amazing iPad that I have that I put all my notes on. I mean, I can tell you, because I see Fat Figure in the chat here complaining, I guess you're not on your computer because he's like, you should see me trying to scroll on this freaking pad thing, Fat Finger. Look, I feel your pain. And the only reason I'm bringing this up, Fat Figure, is I use like, I don't know if you guys can see this. I don't know how to show it. Oh, I'll just unplug it. I keep all my notes on this iPad that we got for, like initially we were supposed to connect the software that we use to hear the production crew and communicate with each other. Originally, we did this on the iPads, and we got this iPad, hey, we'll connect it there. Now we just use our PC. So I have this iPad that was for free, which is like years old, that I just keep my key levels on and my notes on. But this, like these pens are keys, so I'm not actually using my fingers on the stupid iPad, because like it can be a pain in the butt. I couldn't imagine trading off that though.
Yeah, that's.
There's like, we had one trader, it's a short story. There was one trader in the years that I've been on this floor that actually used the point to, like the click to trade. Like there's you can click to trade in P Pro 8. There was one trader that used it that I was aware of, and I was like, this ain't gonna work for you. Like it's day trading, you gotta be like faster on the keys and that kind of stuff. Because it's not nimble. I understand people are accustomed to it, but I've never understood that. I've never understood how you could be a day trader using click to trade.
Was he like a gamer? Well, maybe he's more accustomed to using both a combination of like keyboard mouse.
Let's put it this way. Like if everyone makes fun of me for being a boomer, let's just say he was more old school than I am.
Okay.
That's the polite way for me to say that.
You know what's a good way to tell? Keyboards, usually if you're using the left side, I've seen a lot of gamers do this, is that they'll tilt the keyboard a little bit so it's not like thing. So because here it gives you access to all of this side of the keyboard, right? Much easier hand positioning, because like I'll reach over to use the numpad, yes, but yeah, definitely that's definitely a good indicator to find a gamer there using a tilted keyboard. Maybe a little tilted on the mindset too sometimes, but it's just a gamer thing.
Right now. Is that true, guys? Yes. Okay, Fabian says yes. You guys let me know in the chat. I'm very curious to that. Whatever you're cool with, whatever gives you edge. That's literally all that matters. The other thing too is like the whole, like I see that Aaron Scott Matthews, they habitually keep their fingers over WASD.
Yes, 100%. Like as soon as I come onto the keyboard, like my natural position is shift WASD and then thumb on the space bar. Like that's
now in fairness,
classic.
like you'll see me, my rest position is this because the F keys on my keyboard, I don't know if you guys can see that. Like the F keys are all my primary punch keys. So these two primary longs, primary shorts, and then the rest of the longs, the rest of the shorts for the hotkeys. So that's my primary rest positions like that. And then I'm over the number pad so I can move price. So I'm like this over like the arrows and then the number pad so I can move price around. But whatever, like that's the thing. Nice. Every single trader has a rest position, like the ready position in the blocks that they just sit there. And if they're at their station, like you'll see exactly what it's like. So you've got whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Just figure out whatever yours would be. And on that note, Steve G, you're absolutely right.
Hola, like and subscribe today.
So Katrine.
Busy, very busy.
Whatever that pastry is, hi Katrine. Whatever the pastry is, she's taken out the raisins on the pastry. What was that?
A Cinnabon with raisins, I think.
You don't like the raisins?
Okay, so first of all, I am all for the Cinnabon. Don't take the raisins out. The raisins are delicious. I love raisins. Oh, I just had a cinnamon bun this weekend with raisins in it, and it was absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious. Ramin is like, no, absolutely not. Raisin Cinnabon is crazy. Crazy? Oh, no, it's so good. You got to try it. And you know what? If you try it and you don't like it and you're anywhere near me, you can just give it to me. And that's the good thing about life. You can always share, and I am always willing to share pastries with anybody. 2,000 calories Ponzi. That's Cinnabon specifically. You got to get a good, like I don't want to say homemade, but just find a good bakery, and you can get a cinnamon bun that's not going to be 2,000 calories, and it's probably going to taste a heck of a lot better. I'm just being honest with you. I have nothing against Cinnabon. I'll eat Cinnabon too. It's just, let's be real. It's not only, it's heavy.
It's heavy. It's pretty heavy, yes.
Those homemade style pastries so much better. Like, ever go to a fair and get like the home style donuts? Just one more thing before we'll get back to stocks in a second here. I mean, a couple of things. One, Microsoft is, you're right, Chris Magnuson, you probably read my mind. It's looking like it's coming for that ad for me.
Yeah.
And Affirm's clawing back above VWAP here. That's the other thing.
That was a little bit of a classic
This looks strong.
move there. Yeah, it does look strong there. So we show a little bit of weakness there on the move, and then I get out and then instantly rebids back towards the high of this range here on Amazon. We're doing about a 15 penny range right here, about 148.40, just underneath VWAP, and then right here, just above this 148.25-ish, 148.20 if you want to call it, but a 20 to 15 penny range kind of happening post that bounce off of that 148, kind of setting up as a potential double bottom here on that 148. Now we've seen how Amazon has been stepping up day after day. The levels, the buyers kind of keep stepping up. We were just, it feels like just yesterday we were trying to interact with that 140, that 137 as well, and we're about 10 points above that, almost hitting that 150 happening, and buyers have been gradually day after day just picking levels, just whole dollars, half dollars, and just stepping up. If you take a look at the chart there, there's definitely a little bit of a bigger picture play happening here on the Amazon. And yes, sure, you can get that in-term volatility, you know, presidents speaking, kind of other markets kind of pulling back in, causing you to kind of sell off a little bit, but getting defended by the buyers over and over again like clockwork. Take a look at this. Let's look at it a little bit of a higher time frame here, a little bit more clear on the hourly, right? We talk about this multi-time frame trend that we broke out of, trend highs being in and around that 145, and then you get all the way down into that 117, that 118, and then this is the breakout point here, this reference point at that 130, you stair step and then you rip people's faces off here. Definitely a lot of shorts, a little bit bent. Again, the short was beautiful until it wasn't, right? So when that breaks, when that multi-time frame breaks and you get that multi-day bid up, it's very, very clear that buyers have stepped up. Right here, we can take a look. 130 step up, 135 step up. Look at this consolidation on that 138. I was interacting with that 138. And then the 140, very, very clean, 142s. I remember that crazy reserve happening at 142 halves. And then what happens off of that level? You bid right back up and you're attempting for a 150 test, breaking past that 145. So definitely a very, very strong push into the end of the year here on Amazon. Again, using a lot of these catalysts, a lot of these CPIs, again, market catalysts to kind of draw out that bigger picture move. Buyers definitely in control here on Amazon, and it seems like that 148 was a good price on the day as we've stepped up off of that 147. 148 comes in, and it gives it to you twice to make it real nice.
Ooh, I like that. See, comes in twice to look real nice. Well, what came in? Okay, fine. I'm not going to steal your line like 2 seconds after you said it. But Shopify just bounced off, not VWAP again, but that's 73.4. I mean, normally I would do it, but it just feels wrong. You literally just said that line. So there's 73.5. A second time, I just reloaded that like we got something to Microsoft once again. A lot of jokes in here in the chat. You guys are cracking me up, by the way. If you're wondering why, we'll answer questions in the chat, or like what we're talking about, and we're referencing something someone said in the chat. It's a subscribers-only chat. If you want to be involved, just hit the sub, and then you can be in the chat there. It's definitely a lot of fun. Steve G is trying to trick me into watching Sundial because everybody knows I used to trade Sundial a lot. When we first came to YouTube, that was kind of like the penny stock I would trade a bunch, and that was the cannabis name that I would trade a lot.
You used to do like a lot of volume.
And it would do a lot of volume, and you know, it's kind of a thing where like even now, like I can see myself trying to type the symbol in. I know it's probably not moving, so you're not going to trick me into going over to Sundial. Usually it works, Steve G. I'm a sucker for, oh my gosh, this stock which I used to trade or I like trading is moving. I'll call it up and get into it. But once again, 379 is doing its 379 thing on Microsoft. So I'm looking to add, oh sorry, I already did. I tried to add a little bit more in the 60s there, got some in the 70s. I might take some out 379 again. There was oh my gosh, there was a question about GameStop. It was TAS in the chat was asking about GameStop, and I never got to it. Here's the thing. it's not moving. So it's not going to be top of the mind for a day trader. So we're going to cover the stocks that we're trading, obviously, what's moving. We just bounced 16,000. You were looking for some long plays, right? So that's what we're kind of focused on. But there was a question about GameStop. I think you said you were long in this. I don't know the reason why. I don't want to get into like why you are long GameStop or any of that fundamental stuff. And just focus on, you should never enter a trade without an out. So if you're making a trade, you should know where you are wrong. This is a clearly downward trending stock, which just made a bottom underneath 12 and held like 1180 or so. Now I can zoom this back as far as you want until you go to the split. It's nasty. It doesn't really matter. You're now at that 12 level. And so I showed you on the daily. Let me go back for a second. So this is the bottom back in November. I guess we're still in November. In the middle of November at that 1180. Today, you did a wipeout bottom holding that 1180 coming back through 12. That is actually a setup that I like for a day trade. However, that trade is long here to resistance and then make your money and run. All it's done is come back in and rehold the higher low. So I would suppose it's not unreasonable to, if you have a long with a stop back underneath this support here at 1195 as a day trade, you're holding on to some, that would make some sense. Or you're just you're giving that play to the local bottom on the daily at 1180. That's how I would approach it. Like, I'm not saying I wouldn't be in this trade. If I was in it, I'd probably be all out of it. If I was trying to swing off that level, my stop would be at 1180. Like, those are the only two ways I would be approaching a long trade at these levels in GameStop. But you should always have your out where you think you are wrong ahead of time. If I can't say this is where I'm getting out and what I'm doing at that level, then I don't get into the trade. And I finally, it sounds really simple, but it saves you a lot of money in the long run. Trust me. Because if you don't have that, and it's like, oh, I might do this if it gets to this level, a lot of times that's going to lead to averaging in, doubling down, because it's kind of looking like it's okay, and this would have been a stop, but I didn't really put a stop there, so I can get away with it, blah, blah, whatever. You just talk yourself into things that you don't necessarily need to. Thank you there, Taz. You didn't have to send the super chat there. That was my bad. I saw your question, and I got sidetracked, both by what the market was doing, but then we had a lot of sidetracky discussions there about movies and pastries and all that good stuff, which is fun. But for El Taz, is this actually true? Kramer turned bullish on BTC? Is that right?
So go short now?
You said it, not me. I was like, I'm always waiting for somebody else to say that.
Yeah, I grew up. What's SG
I grew up watching Kramer. I'm not afraid to say it. Kudlow and Kramer was probably the first market or business show or program that I watched on a regular basis when I was younger. That was the first one. There was a couple of guys in my house. We were both into it. But I think Sean watched it too. If you were older, it is what it is. So I don't want to sit there and I know why people give him a hard time. I'm just not one of those people. I find it's not easy being in front of a camera all day long or like that and talking shop and talking market. It's like, how often am I wrong? I was short Coinbase 4 times this morning.
I think it was just funny. There was a whole they even came up with that ETF, SGIM, right? I just looked at it. It does absolutely no volume, but I think there was a time where you could short a lot of things that he said he wanted to get long with a decent probability if you ran the stats on that. But things are a little mixed there. But we're getting a little bit of strength here on both the ES and the NQ. I'm watching the ES kind of rip right back up. Again, that bounce off of Softy, I can see that you're still long Softy. Solid trade there.
Wait a minute.
VWAP is holding quite strong there.
It is. I did just get some out of Shopify, but it was Maxi in the chat just pointed something out here. And as I said this morning, Canadians, we like to correct things. So I just said I won't say anything bad about Jim Cramer, but then it was just pointed out to me that Jim Cramer is an Eagles fan. So much like Doc Holliday, now I hate him. I hate him. Straight up. You just beat my team. I don't like you now, Jim Cramer. You can't be liking first of all, I love the city of Philadelphia. I've been several times. I had a friend live down there, visited him. It is fantastic. Great city, good food. Look, the Toronto Blue Jays won when they went to the World Series, but I'll tell you, anybody that's a Blue Jays fan, they won back-to-back World Series against Atlanta and against Philly. And straight up, we didn't like Atlanta, but we love Philly. Like the respect that Toronto Toronto baseball fans had when we played Philly, we loved the Philly players. We love it was crazy. I don't know how it started, but like I've always kind of liked Philadelphia, and I used to like the Eagles. Well, maybe you can probably figure out why. My dad was a very big Warren Moon fan, which you might be able to figure out. So, I mean, Randall Cunningham, Donovan McNabb, all that good stuff. So you'd think I would like Jalen Hurts, but I don't. So it is what it is. I don't like Philly. They beat us, so I'm going to hate them. It's just that simple. Don't like you. Andrew Chow, you went to school in Philly. That's great. Fantastic. Still don't like the Eagles. I love you. I hate the Eagles.
The only thing I really know about Philly is that Philly cheesesteak is a solid sandwich.
It is delicious.
That's my extent of the Philly knowledge there. We got a super chat from Monty G saying, my trading account would like to thank God for Mark Douglas, my mother, and Trader TV Live. Much love, guys. I'll be joining you CPTs soon. Nice. Good stuff, Monty G. Mark Douglas, great, again,
do you know
solid
where that term
books.
is from?
Which term?
CPT. So it's interesting. There's two. See, here's the funny thing.
I read. You know what? I'll be honest. I thought I read CMT.
No, it says CPT, but there's two things for CPT. One of which my mind goes there first, but I'm always on time because that's how I was raised. So that's the first one. I'm not going to say it. Whatever. You guys can figure it out. You can Google it if you want to. But consistently profitable trader. If you've ever read, if you've ever read One Good Trade,
yes,
then it's from that book. It's a good book. And if you haven't read it in a while, it is a good book for prop trading.
Solid book.
And it's a very solid book.
I like his second one a lot better. I'll be honest.
That's fair.
One Good Trade was good. Definitely, solid book, but I found a lot more, I guess a lot more relative value from the playbook, for sure. Definitely, I like that one a lot more. Again, a little bit more practical for the prop trader, I think.
I tend to agree with that. I mean, you have to have a good playbook out there. Okay, do not make a football reference. I'm just, anyways, because if you don't have a good plan of action, when it comes to trading, you're just going to find yourself burned. You'll be chasing too many moves. You're not going to have, when a good setup happens, you're not going to know what to do with it. Okay, I'm going to make a football reference. It doesn't matter, because I have to. Because then when the blitz is coming in your face and you know that you have to go to a hot read, then you'd be on the same page with your receiver who is wide open for a game-winning touchdown. It was a choice route. That means the quarterback, and I'm talking about Gabe Davis and Josh Allen now, and this is a good trading reference too, because it makes sense. And at the end of the day, it's a choice route. They both have to read the defense and make that decision. The more you practice that, this is the look that we get. If I see this, you're going to cut off that. You know it's a corner route. You're going to cut it off, and you need to come inside. It's easier for you to make that throw and just streak. Right? Like that's what Josh did. That's not the way Gabe saw it. They both saw it a different way. The more they practice it, the more they'd see it the same way. If you trade a VWAP setup, right? The more times, the more reps you get seeing it come into this level, not being long here. Okay, there's your wick bottom bounce. There's a couple of ways to get into this. Wick bottom bounce shows the consolidation. First green, jump in. Maybe it holds an even dollar level underneath that breakout price, whatever, underneath that VWAP price, whatever it is, get those reps, and then it stair steps to the upside. So look, if you look at this, drops down in, bounce VWAP, first green in. Makes a bit of a top there, pulls back, I'm still looking long, get the bounce at a higher low, consolidate, then get back in. Like the more reps you get at something, the better you are at doing it, but it all starts with having a playbook from which to work off of. So, that was just me sidestepping around criticizing the Buffalo Bills to be able to give you guys a trading lesson because I really felt like criticizing the Buffalo Bills there. Babin, Zara, I think a 15-minute candlestick gives you better data than a 5-minute. I don't disagree.
Depends on the situation.
Depends on the situation. Yep. If you guys in the morning show, I lean heavily on my 15-minute charts when doing my preparation work. When it's 3:30 in the afternoon, and I'm thinking every trade is a more of a scalp trade than earlier, then I like leaning on the 3-minute chart because I'm not going to be in these trades for very long. right? So everything is on the lower time frame at that particular time. And it's a 345 million sell imbalance, very small. We did get the early look for the sell imbalance, but that matters, right? Like I use 3-minute, 15-minute daily charts. I'll pull weeklies up for my personal account and weeklies and monthlies when I'm thinking about long-term investments. Sometimes I like the weekly for trend. Every now and then it can be pretty good. But once it gets to that end of the day, I am thinking about shorter duration trades and tightening things up. You're going to get more noise with that. There's no question about that. You'll get more noise with it. But again, your time frame that you're trading off of should somewhat dictate the kind of patterns and chart setups that you're looking at. So again, that's why it's just me. You know, at the end of the day, everyone has to do themselves and trade your own book, trade your own plan, as we always say. I just saw Ash Green NVIDIA high of the day. You got me. Oh, well, the high of the day is okay. I see what you said there. You're just pointing out what the high of the day is. You said, I saw that in the chat. I'm like, NVIDIA's at the high of the day already with the market well off its top. And that would have been very interesting, but it's not. So 485 still the high of the day there. Not really pressing. Like, where are we at in NVIDIA? If it could have broken out, this would have been a breakout trade this afternoon. File this one away for tomorrow. On Wednesday, you closed at you closed off this 485 level. We then failed up there on Friday's trade, and then we've made a bit of a top here at 485. So if it breaks this out, I think it's got a $5, $10 run tomorrow if it can break 485 to the top side. But we're going to run out of time. It's not doing it today. Well, it doesn't look like it's doing it today.
We're getting a little bit of a stall there off of that bounce. That bounce does come in quite nice there. And again, talking about following the plan, Neil, I didn't necessarily follow my plan here on the long, as I was supposed to be holding a little bit more into VWAP there, as we are showing a little bit of strength kind of going into it. But again, kind of that mutedness gets me a little bit short here on the Amazon, again, kind of underneath that 148.5, just looking for a quick kind of a pullback into some of these levels from before. We talked about already how strong that 148 is, but if we're going to stay a little bit strong and kind of continue to bid back up, I can see that the NQ is pushing past previous candle highs here, so that's definitely going to give us a little bit of a bid here on Amazon, kind of coming into these 60s, a little bit of potential support turn resistance there. But I am short, maybe a little too early underneath the half for that, just to see if that VWAP pressure is actually going to come in, or we're just holding those 148 buyers are much stronger than some of this VWAP weakness that we may be seeing here. But yeah, across the board there, very strong holds on top of VWAP. We talk about Softy holding that. That's still perfectly fine. Let me just pull up the chart here as I'm talking about these names. So yeah, Microsoft right here. Take a look at this. We talk about that VWAP kind of a lick grab, kind of bounce off of previous consolidation as well, and then the reclaim of the VWAP for that continued push back up into this previous trend there. But again, we're going a little bit sideways here, going into the close only about, what is this, 43 minutes roughly, sorry, not 43 minutes, about 23 minutes left here on the day, kind of imbalances coming in real close as well, that 350 mark. But the fact of the matter is we have held VWAP on a lot of these names. Take a look at Apple as well, kind of a strong hold of that. Sure, you violated a little bit, but VWAP is definitely staying interesting as you are churning in and around that price. I'm curious to know what Meta is up to. I don't have it up here on some of my charts.
Chilling.
But yeah, Meta's straight kind of, it continued off of that strong move, right? So clearly that selling had some strong continuation back to the downside. That 335 we kind of talk about being interesting there. We do make a relatively higher low from where this strong buying pressure kind of came in and gave us this 342 test there on Meta. So some strong action there. I'm still curious to know. I don't think we ever got a follow through for or like what the news was on this potential sell off there. I think some people might be talking about Threads. or something like that, but I have no clue. Maybe that news will come up or show up a little bit later. Take a look at that NQ and that ES strength kind of pushing us right back up towards higher days there. You can see that teleportation happening there on those candles, especially on the ES as it pops up 2 to 3 points at a time back towards these highs, day highs being right there at that 45.70. So let's see, I'm seeing, wow, take a look at that. You guys just saw that flush of red as people are crossing into the bid there on Amazon. Let me pull up the book here so you guys can see it a little bit better there. You guys saw those flushes of red. Let's see if that red breaks trend or whether these buyers that have been incrementally kind of keep bidding up every about 5 to 10 pennies here on the way up, if they show up again. If that trend breaks, then trend is your friend until the end.
When it bends.
When it bends, and that might be a little bit of a bending action there if you do violate the uptrend kind of. But I'll give it some room there. I did get short underneath VWAP using that kind of price action.
So a couple of things to get to. I'm going to get to what's going on with Spirit Airlines in a second. But for now, let's get on over to the desk and take care of some business.
Brought to you by IG.com. Trade Forex pairs like Euro USD with spreads as low as 0.8 pips and zero commissions at IG. Terms and conditions apply.
Break yourself, fool. Get to IG. Like that was the volume strong on that for everybody else like it was for? Oh, it was just on the, because just for us, like that was like wake you the you know what up. That's how loud that was because the floor is really quiet right now. So Spirit Airlines, I didn't see anything news-wise on Spirit as to why it's going. But if you keep it in perspective, there was a question in the chat. That's why I'm talking about Spirit. And it's up 7%. It's moving, right? Nice recovery. Almost filled in the entire gap in the daily into 15 even. So what it looks like to me is just a technical break. Like it was already coiling up, giving you a higher highs into a consolidation. There's your higher lows into consolidation. There's your 1280. Broke out the top today, double topping. That is a gorgeous looking setup. Now I don't really like Spirit Airlines is not on my radar when I sit down in the morning. But like if you trade the airlines, this is the thing. If airlines are what you trade, or if Spirit Airlines is what you trade, you almost got to have that break. No, like 13.35 goes. You should have that break all day. Give it 20 cents, and then it goes all the way to 14. That's pretty perfect for a setup. But not something I was looking at, so I can't claim that I would have sniffed it out. Microsoft, ooh, and I just went to NZ. Give it a second, there we go. Microsoft right back. Look, it just cannot seem to get past this 379.30-ish level. I just talked about the time frame of these trades, so I'm out of Microsoft there. And again, like it showed me, it's showing me the range. Maybe it wants to break out. It's 340 also as well. When we do this, I'll be doing the recap show, so I'm going to probably get out of here in about 10 minutes or so to set up at the big desk, which does mean I'm not going to hold things right into the close. But it showed you the VWAP bounce. It gave you the range. It gave you a spot to add to it as well, and then play into this 379.30. So all in all, it gave you a move off of VWAP here for about 80 pennies. It's not a huge move, but it's a clean one, which I'm always going to favor most times. Shopify is continuing to work to the upside. It's also, there we go, hit enter again. It's also running out of steam, but this is at the 74 level. It just wicked 74 even and came right back underneath. So anybody knows, if you've been watching this show for a while, what do you think I do here? Trail it out, baby. So that wick gets to 90s, and I keep it real simple. We get underneath 73.90, and I'm out. Right? So it's, again, we always talk about playbook. That's my playbook. If I'm shooting this stair step up to 74, see what happens to 74. Okay, so it wicked 74, pull back in. There's the initial support it put in. I'm putting a trailing stop at that price. Like maybe sometimes I would punch that one out manually, but I want to give one of these a chance to run. Fisker is just being Fisker, which means it's barcoding off of lows. But because the barcode is now at 83, so I'm going to get on the bid at 83. The low of the day is 182 on Fisker. It's a simple $2 break, got 199. So you should always be happy if you get a short at 199, you should be happy with 182, 183 to be sure. Strong move to the downside for Fisker. I mean, just an ugly day overall It's down 18%. I cannot stress this enough. Something like this is a short till it's not. I know it's an easy thing to say, but sometimes you just go in there and since it broke $4, if you just came in with the mentality that it's trending to the downside and you want to look for a short, you've more or less done pretty well. You're not going to win every single day. Nobody wins every single time, and if you are, you're an algo or cheating. But you're going to win more times than you lose if you favor that. Now, obviously on Wednesday I had a good bounce. I was in this short at I think I had a 182 short in here. It's hard to see. I was in this short. I was short at 182. No, check that. I think it was like 183 half or something. It didn't really matter. But it broke 187 and I got out. I only remember it had to be 183 because I lost like 4.5 cents on the trade. And I got out when it broke 87 and I got 88. So I probably had 183 half would have been the price. But I shorted this consolidation and lost. But it was a move down. I joined the first available short. It did that today. I missed the first available short and took the second one at $2. So just play it until it stops working. Speaking of Microsoft, I just put in the trail. Oh wow. We just got out of Microsoft and then we put the trail in on Shop. So I'm now out of Shopify. Oh, as if it just ran the stop and now it's going. That's gonna happen. It's 345. Like I just put the trail in. You saw it ran 73.90. I got out. It went like 3 more cents and then right back up to the high. So Shopify continues to power to the upside.
We only got about 5 minutes there for the imbalances to come out.
That's loud
So
too.
I did get out of that Amazon short. That's some strong selling. We saw that relative change in the flow there when you start getting a strong seller on the tape that just keeps crossing into the bid over and over again and happens to be happening right under VWAP as the market looks a little bit weak. Yeah, I think you can hold on to your shorts for a little bit there, just going into the imbalance. Now, I think it was Andrew in the chat talking about UPST. So I did pull it up here, and yeah, definitely doing some above 1 R vol here. Now, I don't know if this had a catalyst today here. Yeah, of course, kind of a firm sympathy type of play apparently here. But yeah, that consolidation breakout, and take a look at that. You cannot, or you hold kind of this morning consolidation level here at just above this 2360s, 2360s, 50s kind of being that low there. Exactly 50, I think, is that low on the day. Yeah, exactly 2350. So UPST holding its own there, kind of doing a little bit of a stair step back towards that VWAP as well. So a decent look there. Good shorts off that 25. That 25 fails to break through. Has it been a level in the past? I have no idea, but let's take a quick look. Yeah, maybe a little bit of a level, maybe over that 25 there. Kind of selling comes in most recently above that 25, just 25.75s underneath the 26 there, and it seems like those sellers kind of come right back in off of that strong push in the markets here. So with only about 4 minutes left here on the imbalances, I did piece out of that Amazon position. Now, sure, we could continue to come back in to that 148. That 148 seems like it's a decent area to buy, but I think Neil said the initial look at the imbalances was a little bit of a sell, was it?
Yeah, a small sell, 330,000 to the sell side. I mean, individual names for the early look. I mean, NCLH, probably the one I think most people would be at least caring about here, 1.5 million to sell side. We'll see in 2.5 minutes exactly what they work out to be. But there was a good question in the chat, like why isn't Netflix so strong? I don't know why it's so strong off this bottom relatively. I don't have an answer for you there, but that is a pretty impressive. We weren't doing that much this afternoon, but when we bounced off 16,000, Netflix gave you 77 to 80, which is $3. That's pretty good. It's obviously not a full percentage point, but it wasn't really moving all that day. It traveled almost the entire day's range there. Shout out in the chat. Appreciate you, David Moore, for the super chat there. Straight money. You're straight money. If you like this community and you're joining this community and contributing to it, which almost everybody in this chat does, everyone that watches does, then you are straight money. Trading is a hard and lonely business, especially if you got to do it by yourself, which a lot of people do when you're retail trading. We get to be on a prop floor. TraderTV Live, we're just here sharing. It's pretty much what we do every day anyways. Like we're here, we're trading, we're talking shop. That's generally what you'd get. The difference is we got a bunch of cameras and some lights that are a little bit too powerful in my humble estimation that are always pointed on me. which is part of the reason you see me wear these in the middle of the day. But other than that, it's pretty normal outside of that. Lethargic, don't feel too lethargic there. What are my thoughts on Walmart? I like Walmart, but just remember what happened. They got the old Hwadunk action on earnings, and it's doing its little leveling off thing. So it feels like it's calmed down and shown support at the 200 period, which is generally a metric I like. Oh, by the way, I own Walmart on my personal account. It's not something I was looking to add to, so I haven't really done anything with it. If I was trying to add, I would have already done so off of the 200 period by now. Like, it fell off earnings and held it multiple times. If I was adding off 154, I would have done so. I think I would have already made that trade. But the next step would be, and hopefully that wick's not too bad. So there's your bounce several times off 154. Generally speaking, once you make that kind of move off earnings, I'm just looking for the gap fill next. So you got to break out. This is tough to see because of these wicks. That's about 157.5 on the first day early morning resistance. That's essentially where you got to today. So if that breaks out, you got room to 160. That'd be a trade set up for tomorrow or later this week. And then if 160 goes, look, gap fill. So it's done the first part, which is hold that 200 period on the daily, shown support at 154, double bottom off of it, then a couple of days pressing back into the top end of that range. So the next step would be to break that out. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but that's a pretty good post-earnings setup as far as I'm concerned. Dan McIsaac, can't believe you didn't take the Mullen trade. You did. If you guys couldn't trick me into pulling up Sundial, you're not tricking me into pulling up Mullen. But the imbalances just came out. We got Enbridge to the buy side, 4.4 million, MFC, 6.6 million to buy, Intel, 3 million to buy. Those are kind of big ones. But they're usually going to pair off. NCLH, as we mentioned, 1.5 million to the sell side. Apple, 1.2 million to the buy side. Amazon, 900,000 to the sell side. It's a bit mixed there. Cisco's a sell of 840,000. Microsoft, a buy of 800,000. So overall, we have, what do we get, 385 million to sell. So it's a pretty mixed board. But a few interesting names out there. Walmart actually broke down. I'm just going to get out, pop on the bid here of Fisker, see if we can't get 82s. I'm going to have to get the midpoint or just punch out of this. With only 9 minutes to go, it has definitely been a fun one. It has been a wild day. If you did one thing this morning, hopefully it was fine. I know we missed the chips, but the retail trade, it was in play. It was Black Friday. You couldn't have gone wrong if you did that. You couldn't have gone wrong if you were long Intel as well. Although I still say if I was focusing on the chips, I probably went on Intel, then I just lose the same amount on ARM. Or if not, at least close to it, because I would have been wrong about ARM today. ARM down 4%. The market is up. Well, sorry, the market's flat, but it's, okay, 0.05. So technically speaking, it's up. The chips have been strong today, but ARM has sat this one out. And I've been bullish on ARM since the break of 56, 57. I don't think I've looked for a short in the stock since it did that. So today I would have been looking for a dip buy, and I probably would have found one, and I don't think it would have worked out. So I can admit that. I didn't trade it today because thankfully all those retail names were in play. That gave me the bailout to have other ideas that I thought were just better. So it'll be a good day, but it could have been different if two things. One, if I had traded ARM, and two, if I hadn't stopped trading Coinbase. That's the best decision. I could have gone long, but the best decision probably made today was getting out and not continuing the nastiness on Coinbase. We do have, I think there's one earnings name. Thank you, CompSRX. Zscaler's reporting after the bell today, so we'll be all over that. When we got the market recap, I'll be heading over to the desk. I'm out of my positions. Once I cancel any stop orders and orders out there, I'm going to head onto the desk and let Obi handle this. But it's been a fun one. Thank you for stepping in there, Obi. I'll let you take them to the bridge.
All right. I did not.
No, it's cool.
Okay.
No, it's
all
fine.
Right. Okay. All right. I don't know what that's from, but I'm gonna have to ask you that a little bit later.
It's a music reference.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. If you're not. That's a music reference.
That's selling coming in very, very strong here on the whole market there. So again, I think we talk about this kind of trade there, Neil. Just setting a stop if you have an idea going into the imbalance, just setting a stop to kind of clip you out if the imbalance goes against you. We did get short on that significant price action. We talked about people kind of crossing into the bid right before the open, and this is bid down or sold off more than a point. We're almost a point there on Amazon, kind of flushing right back into that 148, we were trading at 148 halves and coming from 149s, right? So that very, very strong selling off right there, kind of continuation into the close. But you know what? That's pretty much all for me. With only 7 minutes left, I'm not really looking at too much here. Some of these imbalances do look very interesting, but I'm going to stay a little bit wary of this market sell-off. Right? This is quite a strong sell-off there going into the close. But again, let me know in the chat what you guys have been trading today. We can take a quick look with only 7 minutes left there and to do a quick review on what some of the moves have been on the day there. Dan saying Roku has been strong. All right, so let's start off with some Roku here on the day. So Roku, yeah, quite the move there. Again, I remember what it did right off the open, that 95 kind of a hold in that pre-market. You hover above that, and then just it's off to the races as you break. From 95, you get the 100 break, and then you get that consolidation above 101, which happens to also be on top of VWAP there. So definitely a very, very strong action there. Ryan talking about Mara, PLTR, and DKNG. All right, so let's take a quick look at those names there. We know, again, crypto has been moving. Let's see what Mara has been up to going into the close, kind of recovering some of that move, about a 50% retracement of this morning kind of run up to that 1165 previous level. And as I look here, what's happening? Wow, the ES and the NQ both very, very strongly selling. I guess the short was not that wrong there, as now we are definitely pushing almost a point off of where we got short here underneath that 148.50s, just underneath VWAP there. And take a look at the NQ and the ES here, strong selling right back into those support areas that we've seen multiple times over on the day. So yeah, going back to Mara taking a little bit of a pullback there. Nothing too crazy as of right now, but that short off of previous days' highs, failure to follow through back into VWAP might have been a decent look there. What was the last one? Actually, no, we had PLTR and DKNG. So yeah, so that PLTR kind of coming right back in, bit of a wash of prices, right? Sure, you get bid up quite strongly right off the open into that 19, reclaim a VWAP, and then VWAP gives you one more hold before coming in and consolidating below this level. But we still haven't broken some of these lows. Previous day lows where those first two 15-minute candles both opened and closed on the red and the green there. So kind of defining a little bit of significance on top of in and around that 19 level on Palantir. But again, a little bit of a downtrend on the bigger picture happening here. So going forward, maybe that 19 doesn't stay as weak as it may seem today. That strength definitely coming in. And DKNG was that last one right here. So DraftKings, a little bit of a chop and churn kind of happening here. Again, I think this is maybe a little bit better for the swing there. Wow, I'm seeing a lot more below the bid flushes there on Amazon, kind of suggesting we're going to continue to push further down into the close there. So wow, that is absolutely wild there. Got to keep onto some of these positions, man. Just got to throw the stop in and let it cook, even if it's going through the imbal. Right? I'm finding that more often than not, there's a little bit of a price action that happens going into that imbal that you could potentially risk off of. Sure, you're going to be wrong every now and then, but the times you are right, it seems to be coming in real nice. So that's something I got to definitely work on. There, people talking about CAPT. What is going on here? It sounds like something that is a very low float kind of ticker there, potential. Okay, yeah, given some low float vibes. Let's take a quick look at what it is right here. What is the float? Okay, 22 mil, not that small, but definitely relatively smaller than some of these other names for sure. So yeah, catching a little bit of a push, a squeeze into end of day is definitely going to give you a little bit of a tell of who may be offside clearly some sellers getting off into this exhaustion move, right? You kind of clip, take a look at that. Once you base on top of this morning high there and you start to consolidate, I think you definitely have to stay a little bit nimble if you are still holding the short, looking for that push back through VWAP. You can see that we've been kind of just pushing up, building into it. You had a day one kind of a hold. Maybe this is a little bit of a liquidity trap as well. Let's take a look at the longer time frame here, because I think a lot of people are talking about this name here. Okay, yeah, a little bit of a failure to follow through, back to the downside happening here in and around that $1.30. You can see this significant volume that kind of comes in, maybe people looking for that continuation to the downside, doesn't really follow through, and then there's only one place it can go if there's no more sellers left, and that is definitely the way up on CAPT. Doing a little bit of a gap fill as well, so a decent look there. I don't necessarily trade these tickers, but when it does set up like this real nice, it is giving you some clear levels to kind of risk off of, whether you're long or you're short, right? You just got to stay nimble and let it work for you. But clearly shorts have been offside going into the close here on the day. So with only about 30 seconds left, I got to reach for the countdown timer here as Adara approaches the bell. I got to time this perfectly right with those 10 seconds left. So we only got about 5 till that happens here. So thank you for joining us today, and we are about to start the countdown. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. Thank you all again for spending your day with us here. Again, hopefully you guys got some value from the show here. Always trying to provide some golden nuggets of, again, how we approach the market, how we may be thinking about certain types of trades. Again, not necessarily financial advice, just opinions from what I think. Again, I'm not any expert. I'm just a trainee. But again, we're trying to get a little bit better every day, and that is the motive. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it off to the big desk with Neil for the after show. So stick around.
Welcome to the post-market show. It's a wild one. Thank you very much there, Obi, for taking it down and getting us into the close here. Stepping up from my man, Sean. I'm going to be stepping in for him today for our market recap show. And what a wild day it was. Clearly, you had the holiday trade, which was a little bit less volume. We had some runners, but then today was all of retail. It was all the chips. It was the buy now, pay later. It was the squeeze zone. So look, we already know about all of that stuff, but I want to get into the market recap almost right away. So shout out to everyone that has joined. I'm going to let people sort of matriculate in here, and then when it starts to bump up a little bit, which it is right now, let's go. Shout out to Adara. Thank you very much for that on the bell. But we didn't talk too much about what was going on with Treasury today. There was one reference to Treasuries early on because it was shouted out in the chat. And if you look at, and we always look at the ETF board, number one, tippity top of this board is going to be TLT, Dynamite. Not like Jimmy Walker Diamond. Dynamite. TLT, baby. Up over 1.5%. Now, clearly the market had a decent run, but into a flat day. So you have this bounce happening in Treasuries, and it's been a good one. It's still a bit consolidative off the 90 level, but you are seeing some signs of continuation, which would generally be pretty good for the overall market. I kind of joked around Peter Schiff would have a good day today because the metals did well. He had gold and silver making big breaks. Gold crushing that 2,000 level once again and getting back into the upside. So the bigger story for me would be TLT breaking here, back out on the daily. I think that's what we want to watch. If you're looking at retail, it's interesting because real estate, this is okay. Like I don't want to be like pessimistic or anything, but if we're actually going to start breaking out on the real estate ETF, that gets a little bit spicy to me. I'm surprised this is having the strength that it is, but you're still in a consolidative phase. It actually broke out the top of that today and then closed right tippity top. So I don't know that this is breaking out yet, but it's getting pretty darn close to it. And then if you go down the line, it gets a heck of a lot more boring. Like most of everything was basically flat, which is a little bit surprising because I think if you're like your perception of the market today, the way that some things were running could have been that tech did better than it did, but we really did not. It just was not that strong. The Qs was dead flat. This was a flat market day. And when you have that kind of a setup, you want to be very, very laser focused on the right types of plays and the right types of moves. If you see me look to my left, I'm just going to keep watching to see if I have anything on Zscaler. Going to be looking down for them as well. I haven't really seen anything for their earnings. And if they move aftermarket, I'll let you guys know. They're the only earnings name that we are going to be watching. We do have the NOS boss coming through for Trader Talk a little bit later. So let's talk a little retail. And I went back and forth for talking trade review, what we should go over. And I guess I spent a lot of time explaining why I was wrong about Coinbase, but I want to get back to Affirm because it wasn't my number one stock today. Shopify was. So Shopify was because I stuck to it a little bit better. Amazon was good because I stuck to it a little bit better. Affirm should have been number one, right? Like there's no question about it. Affirm set you up for the perfect scenario today. You had Black Friday, 47% year over year, more people using buy now, pay later. So all that strength that you got in retail and the consumers and all that good stuff, well, I guess they're kicking that can down the road a little bit more than they were last year. That's good for Affirm. I'm not going to say anything about the deals they had at zero interest and whatnot and how that works out for them, but if they're bringing people in, that's good for them in general. The price action is what we care about here. The 20% short float is what we care about here. So 20% short float, catalyst, sector moving, big massive top here on the daily at 27 even. I mean, if you weren't looking at the 27 even top on Affirm, then I don't know. Like you don't like breakouts. It's that simple. If you're not a breakout trader, you're not a breakout trader. I'm not here to tell you what to do. But this is 27. I'm going all the way back to September 2022. That's $27. Then you go back into September. That's $27. Then you go back here, $27, you broke it out. Once you are above that level, I am looking long until resistance. Now, the big resistance level was actually above 30 at 31. We did almost get there, and I don't want that to look that way. Let's go snap it back in, make that look a little bit better. We did get back there in the general sense. That 27 entry point, however, this is where it gets a little bit dicey, because if you saw the show today, I was long the breakout of the pre-market high. So if I like 27, it's like, why were you not long in this 27 dip? So that's mistake number one. Now, obviously, the breakout here at the pre-market high was still a good trade. It's still good to be long this breakout. It's not like that's a bad trade. But if I just showed you how big a deal 27 even was, and we're above that price in the pre-market, look where we dipped to. At the open, we dipped right into 27 even, almost on a dime, and then it goes grip and rip. That's a trade that you can have. Now, I'm going to acknowledge this first and foremost. Even if I get this trade at like 27.10, my stop is very tight here. I'm probably at best giving this to like 26.80. Maybe I want to extend it to 26.60, but I'm using one of those two stops if I take a 27 long. I don't think you can take this, I wouldn't take this trade if I was stopping out at 27 even. It's just way too tight of a stop at 9:30. It just doesn't work. There's way too many times where you're stopped out and then it's running 3, 4, 5% in the money for you to use an even dollar stop. So if I'm taking that trade, I'm stopping out at 80 or 60. It's one of those two for sure. Now this ends up working and giving you everything you want, but that's only half of the story. We talked about that next level up, and it's going to be that daily. It's going back over to the daily. This will be a 30. I'm just going to switch that back to the daily chart for you guys. And when we zoomed out on that daily, you got to that 31 level on Affirm. And that goes right back into here. It's the only significant price area. And this close, that's too far. Come on, there we go. That's too, that 31 level is still the big level. That's all the way back in here. There we go. You didn't quite get to 31. Now, if there was a mistake that I made shorting, I anchored myself to an even $1.30 level instead of looking off of that 31 and being patient. If the resistance on the daily is at 31, yes, 30 is a big psychological level. It's also a 10% move from 27. I love that symmetry, but I've got to give it the room to break 30, and I didn't do that. So just going back from the daily, I'll pop this to a 5-minute. Just want to look at this on a lower time frame so you can see what happened. Was 30 a good level on a firm? Undoubtedly. There is zero question that this was a good level because you can see the wicks on the chart above that 30 level. I don't know if we can zoom in on this. Can we full screen? There we go. We can full screen it. Look at 30 and how good resistance was. However, overhead on the daily, 31's that top. So it's breaking it. It's getting fills above, the money fills I like to call them. When there's overhead resistance on a higher level and when you have a popular breakout price like a 30, then sometimes the money fills are getting short above 30 even before it gets to that 31 level. That's what the stock was telling me. I still shorted it underneath and stopped out. And this is a lack of adjustment on my part. So yes, I was right about the $30 level, and it gave you a wicked pullback, a great pullback. Wicked. What am I, from Boston? But the best play, and when I see this happening, this is your adjustment. On a 5-minute chart, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. That's a half an hour. For a half an hour, it is breaking 30 and failing 1% higher. For a half an hour. Now, you might not make that adjustment in the first 10 minutes. However, if you like the short off of that level, at some point you have to adjust the strategy. You're either taking the fill at 30 and giving it at least a 30.5, or you're taking the money fills above on the wicks if you like it, and if you want a tight stop, you're having to short it at 10s and 15s. Sometimes that's what the move is. When you look at a key price level, you have to be willing to trade it in multiple levels, in multiple ways. Sometimes resistance holds, it gets to 30, you short 29.95, and you just win. Other times, the price action's telling me there's still weakness here, the move is stalling out, but it's getting above that 30 level, and I've got to be able to find an entry or a trade strategy which allows me to hold it a little bit better. That would be shorting the money fills above 30. That's what would have worked over there on a firm. I see some people in the chat talking about other setups like that. And Zscaler did come in here. Now, I thought, okay, so Zscaler is getting its you-know-what handed to it here. But when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at Benzinga. I was just looking online as well. I mean, they beat on the top. Revenue also was a beat. The guide, I mean, unless I'm seeing the guide wrong, the guide wasn't bad either. The revenue guide was higher. So okay, again, price action in the aftermarket doesn't have to make sense. Let's get this out of the way. They beat top, I mean, I see a beat top bottom, and I see a guide that's beating the top end of the range. So as to why this wants to be trading down, it doesn't matter. That's what it's doing. So if you tee it up here, this one is getting absolutely shellacked. I just want to pop the daily chart back up for Zscaler so we can get to this for a second. Sometimes we care about where the stock is gone, and that could be the bigger issue here. So Zscaler was in the midst of a potential breakout, kind of a double top there on that daily, and you could just be seeing a rejection of that. We've seen that this earnings season, you've been seeing a heck of a lot of that. So it's going to be very important if it can't hold this 180 level on the daily, like that lower high, kind of this start of the consolidation going into this top. If it doesn't get back above 180, that could be nasty. That said, this move to the downside does set it up with good earnings. When the earnings are good and you get quadunked like this, it does set you up for some bounce plays the next day. Like you get back into this 50 in the 170 area, that looks good. You look back into 175. There are fantastic bounce zones where you can find something which is selling off on profit on a decent quarter and get a bounce zone. Walmart gave you that at 154 at the 200 period moving average. So that's what I'd be looking for there on Zscaler. We do have the NOS boss coming up in just a second, but there's one more thing I wanted to do on Zscaler, which was when you're thinking about the long term, always pull up the weekly. Or like I like to lean on the weekly when I'm going pretty far back. So when I was telling you guys just now, hey, maybe it's a story of where this thing has come from. Well, on the weekly, this is significant resistance underneath that $200 level. Very, very significant. So pull back off here, even on good earnings, leaves the bounce intact on this stock on the weekly. This could, I mean, if it closes above 170, it looks pretty good still in terms of being a bullish move. Heck, it could get all the way back to 155, and it's really not all that bad either. So certainly a decent move here for Zscaler to the downside, but you have to be able to keep things into perspective. Now, when I want my perspective on things that are not day trades, well, all of us pretty much, and we do this twice a week, we go to the NOS boss himself. And I do believe we have him here. So, oh, not yet? Oh no, you're killing me. Now I've led into it. I've built him up. Now he's all excited to get on here and wax poetically about some swing ideas and what the overall market is doing. But we'll get there in a quick second. Just so you know, Zscaler is continuing. We're still falling here. Just me go back to the 3-minute here for you guys. It is not, a lot of times in the post market, you get that rubber band action. Well, that rubber band's broken because we're not bouncing above 180. I don't know what time the call is, but suffice to say, they better start saying something good on the conference call tonight, because when I see a move like that on the top and bottom beat and a good guide, I'm usually expecting to see a little bit more of a bounce play early on. I still think it has a chance to bounce, but if you're trading this, I think you would have looked back at 175 and said, okay, well, it bounced in front of that. Where is the move above 180? And you were just not seeing the move above that 180. So yeah, D, I see you in the chat there, Deeves. Now I haven't dug into the report. I see you saying higher operating expensive, less cash flow. Entirely possible. There is certainly, look, there could be something in the report. I'm just looking at the top and bottom in the guide here, guys, live. But there easily could be more in the report that accounts for it. Another fantastic point, Jennifer Schultz pointing out in the chat, look at PanW. Palo Alto did a similar thing as well. So we do understand, in a general sense, we've been getting a lot of this in earnings season, but then remember what Palo Alto did in its ability to bounce off of some key levels after it had a bit of a disappointment. And it wasn't necessarily the quarter, it's about where the stock has come from, and that can lead you to where it's going to go. When you're at those highs, sometimes it's just not good enough, and they pull back in. But let's get on over to Trader Talk. Am I hitting it or are you hitting it? I'm hitting it. With our main man, welcome, Michael. First off, how was your Thanksgiving long weekend?
It was fantastic. We actually had our little parade of lights here yesterday, so I was able to take the little one out to see Santa, and I think that kind of kicks off the Christmas season right there.
Oh, that is the absolute best. My neighborhood does like we have a little side street, and every single year there's a Christmas market. People sell stuff on it. They close it down. The mayor comes by. They had the fire engine. The fire department comes. It's great because it's literally 100 meters from my house where they do this. And so she got the picture with Santa. That's the best. I love the Christmas time of year.
Absolutely, especially when you've got little ones around. You know, we get kind of old and we're like, oh, we gotta get this for this person, that for that person. But it all kind of goes away when you watch a little kid and they're excited to see Santa. And mine's only 2, so he doesn't even know why he's excited to see Santa. He's just seeing him everywhere and getting pumped every time.
That's the absolute best. I don't know who you calling old. I don't know where you're going with that. You're barking up the wrong tree there, Michael. But so look, today was a bit of a wild. It was a wild one. Like this was not. You know, it was a relatively flat day for the overall market, but then you had these little like pieces in and out where things were absolutely insane. So like, where do you start with a day like today? Like it was, I mean, the retailers was crazy. Obviously, we saw a little bit of a piece of that, and the chip names did a little bit of a move. Overall, you had the metals do okay as well. Gold, if you're looking at gold was fantastic. But where do you start on a day like today where it seemed like the overall market wasn't giving you that much?
Well, first of all, and I was watching in the green room there, and you're absolutely right. You zoom out, right? So I have a zoomed out chart of the S&P 500 right here, and I've kind of highlighted this area right up here at this high. We broke that last week sometime, and these kind of inside do nothing type days, it's kind of exactly what you want to see. And the reason for that is the RSI I have here on the bottom. You can pick your overbought, oversold indicator of choice. I don't really think it matters, but there's two ways an overbought condition can alleviate. One is through price, which means a pullback, and the other is through time. And as someone who is very long, and we got long around this area, I want to wait. I don't want it to be price. I want it to be time. So if we get another handful of days chopping around just like this, I think we're just building a launch pad to go higher. And this would be technically a little bit of reversal of the trend. You can see the nice downtrend we've had here as well. But it's not really a change in trend when you have just a big spike like this. We need to see either what happens on a pullback, like I talked about there, or if we can consolidate a little bit higher and then break through. That would be very interesting because then we're talking about maybe new all-time highs by the end of the year, which would be a very Merry Christmas, I think, for a lot of people out there.
Speaking of Merry Christmas, now this is going to be, I love putting you on the spot, A, because it's fun, we're live, you don't have a choice but to answer my questions. You just love that power. But you just said rally into Christmas. Now, we had a lot of talk, and again, a lot of people have been talking about the Santa Claus rally and what it is or isn't statistically. Okay, so the school of thought, from what I've read, it's always like the last part of the year, and then it actually bleeds into January. But if we're just talking about a rally into the end of the year and sort of seasonality, what is your take? Because look, you're a swing trader, you deal in higher time frames. You're now talking about potentially you're already long, you're looking into a push here at the end of the day. Now you're looking at the chart setups. Do you even care about seasonality, or is that just like, nah, the charts are for me, I don't care about seasonal patterns?
I look at seasonality the same way as I look at, indicators like a VWAP or a MACD or whatever it is. It can confirm or disprove an analysis I have, but in and of itself, it's not an analysis. I would never buy something because it's a seasonally strong period or something like that. But if I see a nice pattern and a nice uptrend and it's a seasonally strong period, then I think that just kind of gives me another check. Maybe take a little bit more size, have a little bit more conviction in my trades. What I think is very interesting is the periods in which we don't get whatever is very strong seasonally to happen. And an example just off the top of my head is, I think it was 2018 during Christmas. And I know you would have traded through this, Neil, so you would have remembered it was an absolute collapse. It just into the end of the year. I think it was either trade war talks or interest rates or something was going on at that time. And those, in my opinion, are really interesting. If you have a seasonally strong period and then you have the market completely collapse, I think that is more interesting to me than when something does what it should do around a seasonally strong period of time.
You know what? Okay, now you just have me like wanting to think out loud, because I've never thought about that, but it's much more interesting, right? Like if you, like, sure, you can have confirmation. Confirmation is fantastic. Like, okay, fine, you were looking for longs anyways, statistically, blah, blah, blah. You've got the Santa Claus rally, and it corresponds with a breakout trade or something that you were already going to do. But those times where things go vastly against what people are expecting are probably going to give you a little bit more of an alpha in your trade there. So I like that. Like every now and then, see, I put you on the spot, and then we just got a good nugget that I think maybe you don't get to trade. Look, when you look for outlier events, they're not going to happen as often, but when they're there, they're going to give you bigger opportunities. So, that's what it's all about here.
Yeah, and just think about it in terms of how you guys trade with support and resistance and levels, right? If you're like $10 is a really big level on this stock, I think if we get there, we should probably fade off it or rest for a period of time there. But then it just blows through that level. That is, not, you weren't wrong. You had a level and that was interesting. But to me, that's really much more information. That means this really strong level that you thought would act as resistance just got destroyed. Maybe that is a better signal of, okay, this stock really has legs or some sort of big buyer in it, because it didn't do what it, quote unquote, should have when the market got to that level. So that's always what I look at is, hey, is this a unusual event that I don't think should occur? Well, that's really where I want to focus my time. But right now, again, if we get that, if we don't end up breaking these all-time highs and we collapse from here, that would be not fun because I'm long. I'd have to get out of some positions, but that would be very, very interesting to me going forward into next year.
Yeah, we've been pretty bullish, right? So the gold has been obviously having a good time here. I know you've been a proponent of it. I've said time and time again, I've traded as a day trader. I've traded some moves in GDX, but the context of that has generally been around like a Fed day or something. GDX is what I was playing with on the Fed instead of the Qs or an individual stock. So my knowledge in that is I can look at a chart, but the move that we've seen right here in gold. Give me your thoughts, because are you still feeling bullish on it? Like, what are your thoughts? Obviously we just got through 2000, so it's kind of maybe an easy answer for you.
Yeah, more bullish than ever. So if you go to my screen here, this is actually, I like teasing things that are coming out very soon for your listeners. This is actually on the downloaded application. We already have these heat maps on the web version. You will be able to turn any list, any symbol list that you have, or any top list that you have in trade ideas into a heat map. So what I've done is I've taken, these are most of the ETFs I keep an eye on during the day, during a heat map, and you see a pretty consistent theme here, which is why I love visualizing this data this way. We have GDX, we have SLV, so those gold miners, they're silver. XME is mining metal, all of this stuff, and then gold. So all of these are doing really, really well. And then I did a kind of a zoomed out as I was just doing my end of day recap here. But I did this zoomed out look on gold, and you can see this level. If we go back, this is all the way till August 2020. Call it, the $200 area, give or take. We've hit this 4 times now and got rejected pretty violently from it. So this kind of, I guess, cycles back to what we were just talking about a few seconds ago. If we expect that there's going to be resistance at this level, and all of a sudden there's not, and we blow through, that will be a key to me to get a little bit longer, even though I'm already pretty long gold as it is.
Ooh, I like that look. I mean, again, we just talked about it, and I see that setup. That's a lot of tops at the same level where people are expecting resistance. And a lot of times, I always say this, the more times you get to a resistance level, if I'm shorting it, the less I like it. It's just the more obvious it gets, generally speaking, you can run yourself into some trouble. So look, your little one's only 2 years old. So maybe you know about The Incredibles. I don't know. Maybe you know about it independently. But any interesting names that you may or may not be looking at related to a certain Incredibles character? Oh, I'm just thinking of their son, a certain fast runner.
I think you're over my head with that one.
I wanted to see if you got. I know he's only 2. Dash.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I'm gonna let you in on a secret, because when you get once your kids get old.
Now, sorry.
No, once your kids get to a certain age, the degree to which you are going to have these movies and shows in your head, it is like I've seen Frozen more times than, like, I'm a big Star Wars fan. Like, I've probably seen Frozen more times than I've seen like A New Hope, which is crazy to say, but it's actually true. But The Incredibles is a great, fantastic movie. But any individual names you're looking at there, Michael?
I know, I get you now. This is it's Peppa Pig right now. I think I've probably seen every episode of that probably 3 or 4 times. I swear I'm going to bring him on one day. He's going to have a British accent. It will just be from watching it so much. But
hold on a second. Wait a minute. Everybody here just heard Michael say that we're going to hear British accent from his little one. Please do. It'll be a heck of a lot of fun. You might as well.
That'd be a viral hit. We'd get a lot of views on that one, I'm sure. But yeah, DoorDash is really interesting. I got it up on the screen here. Just like the S&P 500, you can note these little flags that I have showing that, hey, we broke out of this range, and this kind of $92, $93 area was pretty huge. Back in 2023, we ticked it and we got this really nasty kind of topping tail candle, just completely fell apart off it. We hit it again after earnings and fell apart off it again. But now we're through it and we're just kind of consolidating sideways for a few days. And we're actually testing that from the other side. And that's technical analysis called polarity. It is my personal favorite trade, is when a support area becomes a resistance area and vice versa. So this is one I'm actually watching really strong going into tomorrow. Earnings are completely out of the way, so you don't have to worry about that. So all of that has been digested. And I think you've got a pretty clean level of, call it $93 to play off of. So if we get any kind of bullish action tomorrow, I'm going to be getting involved with Dash. Under 93, I think that's when it's going to be time to go.
I love that setup. And I'll tell you right now, when I started trading in 03, when I first made money, I was making money trading penny stocks. And outside of like back then noticing which market maker was the axe and sort of trading off the good market makers on your stock, that whole notion of resistance turning into support and vice versa, that was my trading career. Like if not for that one particular, call it setup, call it fact, I'm not sitting here today. Like that, you notice one thing, and I absolutely love that on Dash.
Yeah, and I tell this to new traders all the time. If there is one place that you want to get started, I truly believe that's it, because you don't have to worry about any indicators, right? You're training your eye to identify support and resistance. You are necessarily trading with a trend, because if it is broken out and pulled back, it has to be in an uptrend. So it combines all of these: good risk reward, you're trading with the trend, all of these things together. It works across literally all time frames. We have scans for it in Trade Ideas for weekly charts and daily charts down to 1 minute charts. We actually have a one that's got Sean's list of stocks that he normally trades on the 1 minute basis. For me, it's my favorite setup. It's what I go to every day. If I could only have one thing, if it's like they took all the other tools I have in my tool belt away, that's probably all I do all day.
Yeah, anyone that watches the show knows I'm going to agree with that 1,000%, because I use it every single day. I'm always looking for, if I miss an initial move, well, how am I getting into a long trend? Pull back into previous resistance. That is the first place you got to go to. So, Michael, thank you for coming through. We look forward to. Obviously, we'll see you again at the end of the week here. We'll get you back on Friday. But thank you for stepping on through. Apparently, I'm running into the end of the day and haven't even done the roll call. But I'm glad that we got to expend our time with you, because hey, you want to listen to the people that are smarter than yourself that you can learn something from.
I don't know if I'd agree with that, but I always enjoy coming. I always enjoy just shooting the what about stocks.
Well, when Sean's not here, then I get to call it my show, which means I can say whatever I want. So when I give you the compliment, you have to take it. Thank you as always, Michael. We'll see you on Friday.
Talk to you then.
All right, everybody. So we are going to give a really quick rundown. I know it says we're finished, but I don't really give a darn. We're gonna do roll call anyways. So let's get on into it. Yeah. Hit the. Can I do this too? Deal with it. Deal with it, Fabian. I'm sorry, you got to say a little bit later. But yeah, quick little roll call for everyone out there. I see Monty saying thank you, Michael. Shout out to you. Ponzi Fonzie, what up? Bristol, what up? One brown chick, holla. Jacob as well. I'll get the chat up in here. There you go. It's on the screens. You guys can see it. Michael Pena, hey, trader forever. John Spruill, you were making jokes this afternoon in the show. Don't think I didn't notice that. It was hilarious. Success is inevitable. If you follow us, then hopefully that is true. The MVE, shout out to you. Zippy Zane, I saw you a couple times today. Shout out to you. Rich Naples, believe it. Better believe it. Howell Capital Trading, shout out to you. Tony Price, as always. Bob Curran. CompuCare team. There's too many. Sailor Moon, go Lions. One Pride, okay. Go Bills, but go Lions too. We love everybody here. 5 foot. Okay, anyways, 5 foot long bong. Okay, you made me say it. You got me. You made me. I said it out loud. I read it. It is what it is. Michael Lloyd, God the Emperor. I love that name. It's a fun one too. Michael Lloyd, Raul, Soraya, the White Rider. We got too many people in here. 4L Taz, DK, Jacob, Rowboat, Zion Lala. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been an absolute blast. I do love filling in for the after show. By the way, I want to remind everybody, if you didn't check out episode 2 of the podcast, go ahead and do it. Every single week, we're giving you a new one. Sean did episode 1. If you haven't listened to that. episode 2. Episode 3 is going to be dropped this week, and that's going to be Sharif, and then we're just going to rotate on back through it. So we got everything for you guys. You're covered. You got the podcast, you got the live show, you got the after show, everything you need here at Trader TV Live. It's a great start to the week. Hopefully, everyone comes right back, rested, because more action starting tomorrow. You had the Zscaler earnings and a few more names for the rest of this week. Man, those retailers were hot. Let's see what they have in store for us tomorrow. See you then, guys.